Good morning. Welcome to a Thursday edition of Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Good morning, everyone, especially all of you that watched or listened right here on the Zone last night to a game that might end up at the end of the year as the Big East game of the year. High-level offense, entertaining. If you like defense, well, you are out of luck. But in the end, Xavier defeated Creighton 90-87. I can't believe, boys, it's January 12th, and we're talking about a Creighton team that's 9-8 overall, 3-3 in the conference. Not a bad loss last night, but it is not a good morning if you are into missed opportunities, because that would have been a great opportunity for Creighton to get a victory against Xavier last night on the road. But they come up short in a game that looked all eerily too familiar, and then there were parts of the game that were like, "Yep, that's Creighton." On the good side of Creighton,
Yeah.
especially offensively, but defensively last night, when they needed a stop, they couldn't get a stop. At a high-level offensive game, and Creighton falls 90-87.
That last play was very symbolic of where things are trending. Well, and that was the other thing was watching the final minute of that thing on how many opportunities it could actually without even fouling, just on the inbound and having a chance to either tie or even dagger that thing. And it was fun. It was entertaining. And the thought that I had more than anything is those losses we talked about yesterday, they start stacking up. It's great to have a good showing, from a confidence standpoint. It's great to have a good showing, especially when you are on display with the committee. But at some point, you got to win those games. And where, how does Creighton take that? That to me is going to be very interesting this weekend because offensively, you got to feel good about it. I mean, 50%. We were talking about Trey Alexander, the type of numbers; those weren't bad. Shireman had a really solid performance as well. Other than Kalkbrenner not having a real strong offensive presence in the second half, there was a lot of things you liked offensively. And just kind of, at least I did. I got wrapped up in what was a good college basketball game as far as the things that Creighton didn't do defensively down the stretch, the mistakes here and there, Nemhard and, in certain moments, those were a problem, sure. But you could always kind of circle back to moments where, well, you're probably not in this game if this player doesn't do this or this player doesn't do that. So for all the faults that some guys had in moments, there are other huge moments that kept them within striking distance and ultimately a chance to win the game at the end there.
By the way, last night is a rare shot quality loss for Creighton. That metric and website has been shared a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The projected final score, 82-76. Now, that's a Xavier team offensively that scored 88 on Villanova. They just put up 90 on Creighton, who, the way that game was flowing right away, and Kalkbrenner's getting dunks off ball screens and lobs, and I mean the first half was entertaining. I mean the whole game was for the most part entertaining if you like that kind of basketball. But in the end, defense hurt Creighton. But also in the end, and you brought up, okay, when you're going to grab those opportunities, that's not a bad loss. That's not a bad loss last night, but you got, at some point you got to get away from that, because I'll tell you what about Creighton is that win against Arkansas is a long time ago. Yeah. That game was on the 22nd of November. That's a long time ago that Creighton got a really, really good victory. Now they'll have an opportunity again on Saturday, but oh, by the way, Providence and a NBA draft pick guy and Bryce Hopkins walks in with a 9-game winning streak. And that's what you're facing. I mean, you've gone from UConn to Xavier to playing at home against Providence. But the bigger issue about this team, and there are things to like. There are things that I don't think you'll fix with the bench. We'll get into that a little bit later. But what has flipped this year is your ability in close games to close things out. You should not be waking up on the 12th of January, if you're a Creighton basketball fan, and be talking about a 9-8, 3-3 record and still be lamenting about guys that you missed from last year. Roddy, AOC, Hawkins. No one could have fathomed that would be the discussion. But that's what Creighton has put themselves in. But when it comes to the end of the game situations and tight games, last year they were able to close out tight games. They made smart decisions with the basketball. They made smart decisions on defense. And then they had some clutch guys that when they needed a bucket, they got a bucket. And this team right now is so disjointed and at times very inconsistent. One part of their game will be sky high, offensive efficiency for the most part last night. Then all of a sudden the defense the bottom falls out. But at the end of games, this has become an issue. And you saw the graphic that was flashed last night. Last year in games decided by 5 points or less,
Right.
Creighton was 8-2. Hey, that's going to carry you a long way. You win close games, that's going to carry you a long way to a nice seed when you get to March Madness. But this year, they're 1-5 in those games. And the issue to me isn't, okay, is it the player that's taking the final shot? Because Creighton has been in situations where it's actually come down to the final possession of the game. Is it the player or the play? I had no problem with Shireman taking it last night. Now, Shireman was on a heater, finished with 25, and he was hitting shots from the logo and breaking ankles. And you're like, that's the offensive part of Baylor Shireman's game that we spent a lot of money to get here to Omaha. So I don't have a problem with him handling the basketball at the end of the game. Now, the play, well, you're trying to back down Colby Jones. Okay, so it's bully ball, it's power dribble. At times, when Creighton's offense gets stagnant, your best option is Baylor Shireman playing bully ball. I don't have a problem with the person, okay? I'd put it in his hands as well.
Yeah.
I have a problem with the play that they have at the end of games because whether it be that one in the middle of the lane trying to bully Colby Jones, but then, man, there are a lot of passengers on final plays where it looks like it's 1-on-1 or 1-on-5, and there are 4 guys in blue or white that stand around and watch.
Yeah.
And that's what happened last night on that play. Now, going up, turns it over, 7.5 seconds to go, and Creighton still had a chance, after Alexander hits the 3 and ends up 90-87. So it's I don't know, you're back and forth on what to make of this team, okay? Because there are glimpses, but then there are situations like that in the last 7.5 seconds. You go, this team, that should not be happening at all. But here's what Mac did. I noticed on the postgame last night. He said, we're close. Uh-oh. We've heard that before around here. Different sport, different person.
It's ready to pop. It's ready to pop.
We're close.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Saturday is a prime opportunity because those kind of opportunities to enhance your resume are dwindling, especially on the road.
Right.
And again, that Arkansas game is a long time ago.
Well,
it's back on the 22nd of November, the last really quality win that Creighton has.
Why do you think, okay, because you bring up another example of this, why do you think coaches will bring up the we're close, other than the obvious, you played a really good team and you came up just short, but they typically go right to the schedule. And that's what Mac did as well. He went to the schedule, just like what we would hear Frost do the same thing, where you immediately look at the schedule, which I get it. And I'm not trying to say, Mac, you're wrong, you're way off. It's true. The schedule has been brutal. It really has. You knew that going in, but you also knew for people to take this team serious, and I think even for your own team's good, you knew you were going to have to win. Everything Mac's saying is what he has to say. It is. But when I think of the stretch of games that Creighton had, and we've talked about it several times now, it's one thing to have a good showing, say, in stores. Okay, let's say last night's performance takes place in stores. You're like, okay, you know what? We didn't get the result, but damn, we've got a really good opportunity coming up in Cincinnati. So then you go on the road to the Cintas Center and you duplicate that performance, but you finally close it out. That would be a 2-game stretch, in my opinion, where you can completely dismiss what happened as far as the result in stores because you finally got the victory. That would validate, you know what, we are close and we are good. And your players know that too. I can't emphasize it enough. You've got to win one of those games. If this is going to be, your run-of-the-mill, Creighton will make the tournament. Creighton could play in the second round, and then we'll see what happens type team. Remember how this team was being talked about. And when you saw last night when this offense was clicking, you get flashes of it. You get it we have throughout the entire season so far. We've seen flashes of what this team could potentially do. That's the way it's being talked about. Not like, hey, a Creighton team that's just going to make the tournament. So if you're going to be that team, you've got to win games like this, at least one of them. And as fun and as entertaining as that game was, yeah, you're right. Like, the Shireman situation, it's an example of, I think, many where you don't mind who has the basketball, but how the play is developing and what his option is. And by the way, that was good defense. Okay, I know Baylor he was calling for a foul. That was good defense. He lost the ball going up, but it was. I just think one of a few examples of I like the idea, don't like the execution.
And they lose another close game last night. Not a bad loss, but it was a missed opportunity. And they'll have another opportunity against Providence, which that game takes on a huge amount of
so much bigger.
importance on Saturday. You're back on your home floor.
Mhm.
And that's
Well, if you lose it, you know.
That's a stretch.
It tells you all you need to
stretch
know.
of a week. Well, if you lose, you're 500.
Yeah.
Yep.
And now you're
That's
really,
crazy.
I set the number at 19
Yeah.
to get into the NCAA tournament and maybe get to New York City, where you don't have to get to Friday if you're stuck
Right.
playing on that Wednesday. But one of those things last night, I mean, that's a good team they played, and Creighton is still a good team. That there's some things that on January 12th they're just not going to be able to overcome, and the biggest one is the bench, which leads to, do you have 5 starters that are going to be forced to play 36 plus minutes? Because when one of those starters comes out of the floor, off the floor in Kalkbrenner, that game entirely changes.
Mm-hmm.
Look at last night. He was gassed, so he had to come off for a little bit, and immediately Xavier goes on a 6-0 run. So that's the part of navigating that there's no fix, because I think we're past the time that, okay, just wait. The bench is going to be able to help out the starters.
Nope.
It's not.
This is the team you have.
Xavier got 17 points off the bench last night. One of their stars, Fremantle, didn't play very well. He didn't shoot the ball well at all.
5 points, I think. Yeah.
So their bench supplemented his, not getting into double figures, where Creighton had 3 points off the bench. It's crazy to look at the box score. Creighton scored 87 points last night, and 84 came from the starters.
Yeah.
They got 3 points off the bench, and the guys coming off the bench actually committed more fouls than they scored points. Okay, that's not changing. So you have to figure out, okay, before guys get run into the ground and to keep their legs fresh in clutch time, what do we do with the distribution of minutes? And am I willing to sacrifice my trust level? Because I think Mac, there's some guys that he does not trust, and they've given me reason not to trust him. I mean, Fred King comes off the bench last night, and hey, I was buying stock back in November, early December on Fred King, and I still am buying stock.
ASU game, I think it was the Arizona State game, played well.
But he has been an absentee, and last night he came in, and there was a stretch where it looked like he had just shown up to play basketball. Like, he was confused.
Yep.
And you have such a small margin of error when you go to the bench. You take one of your good 5 off the floor. Man, you can't have a guy that has his back turned or doesn't know what the defensive play call was, anything like that. I guess it was frustrating. I said entertaining. I like that high level basketball going back and forth,
especially after the night before.
Yeah, people are going to say frustrating. And rightfully so.
When you have a missed opportunity, you should be frustrated. They should be frustrated.
All right, welcome in, everybody. The whole gang is here. Nick, Jimmy, and yours truly. Busy show today. Steve Sipple's going to stop by a little bit later. Adam Teicher, who covers the NFL and the Kansas City Chiefs for ESPN, he will come in at about 9:30. John Fanta, on the morning after another good night in the college basketball world, now that we're all into college basketball. Crazy finish, by the way, in Evanston, as Rutgers, who blew a double-figure lead, scored 7 points in the last minute to beat Northwestern. You also had the other game in the Big East last night, UConn and Marquette. We've been talking about Tang and Gates. By the way, Mizzou laid an egg in College Station.
Yeah.
As National Coach of the Year, Shaka Smart and his hair is going to get some run. I mean,
that's all he had to do.
Marquette is legit.
Good for Shaka.
Marquette is a legit basketball team. I mean, good luck tiering the top 4 or 5 teams in the Big East.
Right.
Who you would put at the top? Is that the team that's coming to Omaha on Saturday, or is that the team that in Milwaukee won, or is that the team that beat Creighton in Cincinnati?
Boy,
I think the 3 that I just mentioned are all kind of together. And then you go to the next tier. You go to the next tier, and you've got UConn and probably Creighton. But John Fanta will make his season debut on the show. We'll talk some college hoops, and then Brian Edwards as well to get you right on Super Wildcard Weekend, where the line continues to grow between the Bills and the Finns. It is 13 points right now.
Whew.
Skylar Thompson starting for the Dolphins at quarterback.
Good season, Dolphins.
Kansas State.
He is going to
get up.
He's going to fit into the list of like obscure quarterbacks that have started playoff games.
Yeah.
Feel bad for the
AJ McCarron.
Feel bad. Connor Cook.
Yes, Connor Cook. Yeah.
Brock Osweiler. Tim Tebow.
Can I tell you one of the probably the worst?
Joe Webb.
Yep.
Joe Webb reference.
Didn't Tavares Jackson, the late Tavares Jackson, start
I believe he did.
game for the Vikings?
Yeah, I did. I can give you probably one of my worst takes ever. And I've had many. And that was Connor Cook is going to be a much better NFL quarterback than Kirk Cousins. Oh, yeah. Oh, I was buying the Connor Cook stock.
You know, in that playoff game, he was 19 of 40. He did complete 19 passes in a playoff game, but he threw 40.
40.
Yeah.
That's not going to cut it. Not going to cut it.
So Skylar Thompson starting for the Dolphins. Yeah. So we'll see.
Bills Bengals next week.
Hey, they have no scouting report on them. Okay, sorry.
The double-figure favorites in the playoffs, I think, are 8-0 straight up, and they are 7-1 against the spread.
Are the Niners back up to double? It was 9.5 yesterday.
I think that one's going to be. I think the weather's supposed to be like there's going to be a gale in Santa Clara.
I don't know if it'll close above 10, but yeah, I could see it staying.
9.5 is a good number for that one.
Ask us anything as well. We have to adjust. Usually you're used to on Thursdays. Ask us anything coming your way in the last hour. We're going to do it at 8 this morning. Still the same. Your chance to win a gift card from Oscar's Pizza and Grill. We're going to give away a lot of stuff today.
We got lots of them. So.
Yeah, we got the booty to give away. It's back down to $100.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have
slim booty.
We'll give you a stat of the day here in just a moment. But the whole lineup is brought to you by the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard. Want to say good to see quite a few of our listeners, our well-to-do listeners, that were at the Outland Banquet last night here in Omaha. I guess you could say with the head coach and the athletic director and the GOAT that were all sitting at the same table, Matt Rule, Trev Alberts, and T.O., and considering the news that came out last night, and you're sitting at an event that honors an offensive lineman, I guess you could say the Outland Banquet was a rousing success.
Oh, wow. Well done. Well done. So was there like a wave of excitement? Did you get any applause? Like, just
like me?
Not like when you walked.
Well,
ladies and gentlemen,
I had a terrible seat, by the way.
I was going to ask, you weren't sitting with T.O. and Matt?
No.
They don't do you like
that.
But
T.O. turns 86 next month.
Yeah. Well, you guys.
There are a lot of people that wanted pictures, and Matt Rule took a lot of pictures.
You guys freaked me out when you told me Lee Corso was 87. I didn't realize he was 87.
No, it's always a good event. The people that put it on are good people, and do a lot of stuff with them. But I went with a friend, and he happened to get in late, and we were in the back. But the food was there. And,
was it rubber chicken?
Typical.
So in the back, were you more of the peanut gallery then?
Dog and a beer?
No, we weren't a long way away from the.
Oh, okay. So usually in the back, the bar is usually closer to the back.
Yeah.
In certain setups.
I was actually watching the Creighton game. While the thing was going on, to be honest.
I was like, either you are damn knowledgeable about a game that either you were watching at your table or you had to go home and rewatch. And for that, man, you got to be tired.
So I was watching it while I was sitting there, and I was not alone, so do not call me out. But it's the second time that I can recall watching like a close Creighton game at the Outland Banquet. Remember the Marquette game, which had the crazy ending where Hauser hit the shot at the end?
Yeah.
Okay, that was during an Outland Banquet, and people were following on their phones. So I think back then there was no video of the game.
Yeah, you probably
so
didn't,
people
like
were just doing it like on the Score app or ESPN.
Yeah. Refresh, damn it, refresh.
Oh no. So, people like if you're not watching a game, but somebody is, and they make the, oh no. And it was like, what happened? What happened? Yeah, there were quite a few people that were watching the Creighton Xavier game last night at the Outland.
That's what I was hoping with the Rouse news yesterday. That all of a sudden, like in the middle of someone's speech, you sort of, oh shoot!
Sorry, that's Matt Rule.
Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, it was probably Matt Rule.
I get the sense that Nebraska knew about it before yesterday that he was going to commit.
About that?
The big Stanford offensive lineman who will not be able to go through spring ball. He will be out for spring football, but he is in for the 23 season. We'll get into the impact of his commitment and how he got to Nebraska. Remember yesterday I said, all right, the next step in recruiting as you get your feet on the ground is grab the recruit that has no connection to you. And Nebraska did that yesterday. There's no connection between Walter Rouse and Matt Rule.
This erases Mizzouka.
Other than they have the last name begins with the same letter.
Mizzouka might do better. I'm not saying that, but from that little conversation we had yesterday with a connection, but being able to get the guy with no connection, that to me, that is an absolute win.
You take your win.
Yeah, that win. It completely, in my opinion, we'll see what happens. As you mentioned, not going to be available for spring practice with the labrum, but that to me is far better than any type of disappointment you might have had with Mizzouka choosing Florida.
These veteran pickups. So Nebraska's got they have 4 players in the offensive line room that have over 1,000 snaps in college, and 2 of them coming from the Pac-12. So we'll get into that edition and much more. You watched the Creighton game last night. You have thoughts, the ending of the game, or 17 games into the season. As always, the numbers to hop into the conversation on the Zone, 951-1620. You can always email us into the Equitable Bank inbox, Gary or Handley at 1620thezone.com, or on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed at Gary Sharp 1620, at Nick 1620 as well. Off and running, Sip, Fanta, Teicher, Edwards. That's a good lineup for a Thursday, brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. 1620 The Zone wants you to win Gary's booty. Whoa, wait, what? Win $100 or more every weekday on Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Listen during the 6 and 8 o'clock hours for Gary and Nick to give you their stat of the day. Then during the 7 and 9 a.m. hours, listen for the cue to call, know the stat, and win a buttload of cash. Answer it correctly, and Gary's booty gets even bigger. Yep, we'll keep adding $100 to the booty bank till the correct answer's given on air. Win your share of Gary's booty on Mornings with Sharp and Handley with 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A cold and blustery day ahead Thursday. Expect clouds in the morning with some afternoon sunshine. North winds will be gusting 30 to 35 miles per hour. Temperatures will hang in the mid-20s most of the day, though feeling like the teens. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
Time-saving traffic center. We have one accident to report near South 33rd and L Street, so please be cautious if you are in that area. Then along Highway 370, be prepared for a significant slowdown near Gold Coast Road. And on Center, it looks like there's a little bit of a delay from 183rd to 165th. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Fernando's.
Thank you, Omaha. It's triple first-place wins for Fernando's. Fernando's is honored and grateful to you for voting them the best Mexican restaurant in the Best of Omaha and Omaha Choice Awards and Best Margarita in the Omaha Choice Awards. Fernando's, family-owned and community served.
Thank you to everyone who voted for MD West One in the Best of Omaha contest. We are thrilled to announce MD West One has been named the #1 private medical practice in Omaha for 4 years in a row. MD West One is also named first place in the orthopedic surgery and neurosurgical spine surgery. Our 34 board certified surgeons specialize in treating every bone, joint, or muscle condition from head to toe. Go to mdwest1.com to meet the #1 place to go for orthopedic, neurosurgery, and spine.
Hey Tapper, NFL Wildcard Weekend is here, and the easiest way to get into the playoffs is with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers, join right now to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. It's that easy. Just sign up using my promo code HAPPER. FanDuel, they have all your favorite bets from moneyline, point spreads, player props, everything in between. And then there's the good old same game parlay. Bet at anytime touchdown, bet at anytime interception, point spreads, any win-loss differential. It's all there for you on the FanDuel Sportsbook. On an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. You're not going to want to miss out on this. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code HAPPER, HAPPER. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and over, present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Winning comes without a guarantee. Focus, discipline, and extraordinary effort make winning more likely. Sometimes our greatest wins come from major setbacks. Coming back from a serious injury is a win that requires teamwork. At Berry Law, we're in it to win it.
If you have been seriously injured in an accident, call Berry Law today. 402-999-7777.
And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Sad news yesterday in the music world and also in the sports world overnight. But one of the legends of rock and roll with a guitar in his hand, Jeff Beck, passed away at the age of 78. Imagine that Jimmy and Eddie and Stevie Ray and Dwayne are all upstairs in the Rock and Roll Hall of
Yeah.
Fame in the sky.
Whiskey's flowing and they're jamming out.
Some
Also,
good stories being shared too.
also I saw Charles White, the Heisman Trophy winner
I
from
saw that.
79 at USC, passed away.
Yeah. Petros tweeted that late last night. I saw that before bed.
I'm sorry.
I know I'm going to get to what I just tweeted out,
Yeah, okay, good.
which I'm waiting to see if they fixed it.
I like how you
Uh,
zoomed in on it.
But you know how we were talking about fullbacks the other day? About how Roger Craig was the fullback for Mike Rozier?
Mhm.
Marcus Allen was the fullback for Charles White.
There's a trivia question.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. A young Marcus Allen was the fullback for Charles White.
That just goes to show you that, and some of the guys that we were talking about, whether it's Roger Craig or even Frank Solch from back in the day, didn't have to have that, that 80s, 90s typical fullback build. Like Marcus Allen's a stretch. Slender dude. Well, that's crazy.
All right. So what I just tweeted out, we're here in studio. We have Channel 6 up and Channel 7.
Mhm.
And so they show the set of Channel 6. What are they doing? Traffic? So they have a wide shot?
No, they're doing weather because Rusty was up there.
Okay. So it might be Craig. It might be his soda.
Looks
He put it like under the desk, but it is in an area where you can see it. Yeah.
It's an empty Starbucks or Scooters cup.
The large cup.
Yeah, it's a large. Someone needed a large.
It does not look good. Like you're supposed to like be watching. They were doing weather.
Yeah,
So
they're doing weather.
Supposed to be watching the weather, and I'm like, all I can focus it on is somebody is getting like scolded because they
Yeah.
left a Scooters or Starbucks cup where everybody can see it, like trying to hide it underneath the desk,
Right.
but it's on one of the side of the desk, the panels that is pretty transparent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have taken the picture
So-
about 5 minutes earlier about the
so-
misspelling
So
of
it's
Jeffs.
got to be Craig's, right? Or do you think it was left by like a director?
No, by now, haven't they been on the air for a couple of hours?
Yeah, it has
so
to be.
you would
Yeah.
notice by now.
You would think.
So I want to see when they come back if somebody is in that building is following me, or they noticed it on their own and they will remove it.
Hey, you know what? You're just helping the situation. That's all you're doing.
What other? It's John Nicely. He goes, "Oh, that's where I left my coffee."
I was heading home last night. I thought maybe I just threw it away.
I'd love to.
Totally forgot I left it.
I'd love to like fill in an anchor, one of the local TV stations for
Yeah?
one night. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, but I would love to do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Like I'd like.
You
I
got
would
enough
go.
pull?
I would go on one of the morning shows and not necessarily wreck it, but it would be unorthodox. Like we'd have fun, and
I would watch it.
yeah.
You would.
I would have Matt Surwey energy on morning shows.
You would
Matt
make your
Surwey was
presence
great at
known.
KTB.
You would announce your presence with authority.
No, we'd have fun.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, we'd
Make your presence known.
It needs to be fun. It's morning TV.
Yeah. But I'd have to, they'd have to, I'd have to be like sitting behind the desk. There's, I'm probably not really appealing in the morning. I
No.
look like the sexy blonde hair, look like a surfer. Today I look like Dan Quinn. I just
You
was
did-
watching here on the stream.
That's
I
true.
look like Dan Quinn.
I thought you had a rough night because you had the rally cap on. What are we rallying from?
No, you know why? I was going to wear it normal, but it's a major flat bill, and it
No,
makes
it's
my
flat bill,
head
okay.
look really weird.
Yeah.
So backwards, it looks better, but I haven't shaved in like a week, so I look like Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
You know who Dan Quinn, the Cowboy defensive coordinator, always wears his hat backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, I want Channel 6 to come back because I want to see if they fixed it or not.
I think they're about 30 seconds out. We'll keep you posted on this. Keep you posted. Yeah. So just kind of bear with us right
Or
now.
maybe, do you think it's a
We're going to hash
pro-
through
hey,
some things until
do
it comes back.
Hey, do you think it's a prop? You know how
No.
coaches.
It looked like
you know,
a 32
like
ounce
the- you
soda.
mean like the
to me.
Mountain Dew or the
yeah,
Coke?
Saban with the Coke.
No. I mean, because it has no logo on it.
Do you think that it is a prop?
No.
Like whatever company that is bought some,
That's horrible advertising it was because you can't even see. Like, we're guessing. I'm guessing that I think it's either Scooters, one of the like the cold brews that they have in the clear plastic cup.
See, I thought it was like a quick stop soda, like 32
or like
ounce.
a QT or something like
yeah.
that. It could be. See, again, we're speculating. That's terrible.
It's an
product
empty
placement.
cup, so whoever's it is, they did some
So
work.
if they're going like the Mountain Dew or Coke route, that is horrible job of execution. Come on, come back already.
Well, now-
Jesus,
now-
commercial breaks been forever.
Now they realize that panel of their new set is
Mm-hmm.
transparent. You cannot put stuff down there.
For future reference.
Yeah. I also would not wear pants if I was doing TV.
No, you got to go to the Jack Harry
Yeah.
shorts and yeah.
So he has to do the Sunday sports sound off,
Yeah.
and we would be in
By
our
the
own
way,
studio.
why that I know Channel 3 and God bless Adam Kruger works his
Oh my
butt off.
gosh! Hey,
But
you
they don't
get to
really-
travel though. That's good.
They don't really do much sports. I mean, unfortunately. But that show, I like when Travis and Rob are doing that show.
Mhm.
I really like that show. And Sunday night viewing is pretty good. I mean, look at Sunday night television news.
Yeah.
That's why the main anchors are back on the set on a Sunday night. I miss that show. I think there is definitely a place for a 10:30 Sunday night sports show in Omaha.
Well, and by the time we
Why
would
did
get
it?
on,
Why did it go off the air?
I don't know. They just kind of lost interest.
Travis
in-
wanted more money.
No, this was no.
He's doing
This,
a morning show right now. He can't hear what I'm saying about it.
this went beyond. Like I was helping out with Chase. It would be my old co-host and Chase Williams and Garrett Gordon. We would all kind of
What's that
rotate.
guy doing?
Garrett's teaching.
No,
in
no,
Kansas
I know
City.
Garrett in Kansas City, but
Oh, Chase.
about, Chase?
Chase, I believe, is in Pittsburgh. I don't know what he's doing, but yeah, I'd always wear shorts. Always wear shorts because you couldn't see the bottom half, and we had no transparent.
Hell, even in
Desk there.
college when I used to do TV, I would wear shorts.
I just felt
You
kinda-
had to.
Always felt kind of cool, come in with a suit. I get top half, sports coat, and I wouldn't go tie, but then I'd have just like golf shorts on.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm part of the industry because
see, that's the
I know
advantage of
trick.
being a guy because the ex is she's a television news anchor
Yeah.
in Florida, and they have to dress up. Where like guys can wear shorts. Now, Channel 7, AK told me when they switched to the stand up,
Mhm.
he couldn't wear. He had to wear pants again. Like he had to wear full suit.
Right.
Like all the anchors did because they weren't sitting, they were standing. But if like I got the call right now, hey, can you get over to, Burlington Northern, or can you get to 36th and Farnham?
Farnham or Herney? Yeah, Farnham.
I'd be there in a heartbeat, boys. Probably looking like this would be a little bit odd. They would go, "Oh, what camera are you running?"
Right. And by the way, you left your cup Here.
Hey,
Can you take that?
I think they're on to us because they haven't done that shot yet. Okay, that's been like their popular shot, the wide shot where they have everybody at the anchor desk.
Just remove it. They had like a 5-minute commercial break.
Certainly, there's an intern that can run over there and get it.
Right. You tell me that could not have been remedied?
I've been
in a
that
matter of
intern.
seconds.
Ah.
I just got. Oh yeah.
What do you got?
Okay.
They get you?
No. Somebody that works there. Just it's been taken care of.
Oh.
All right. Well,
Nice.
that's okay.
Hey, thanks for listening.
That's okay. Yeah, because now they got an awkward shot. They got a new shot they've never
They
tried
do
before.
have a new shot.
Camera 4?
It's an interesting angle.
Them damn people at 1620 the zone.
They've got that panel completely blocked off
Hey.
in the camera shot.
At least we're watching them. They should be flattered.
Yeah.
All the
This is how we're-
stations in town, we chose them.
This is how we're staying informed in the morning.
Well, our good friends over at Channel 7, I think they're on commercial break, so that's why we're watching Channel 7. And they do a really nice job. I mean, we all know Craig. I mean, everybody's known Craig forever. And then Danielle, who is pregnant. I think she's close. Her and her husband about to celebrate the birth of their first child.
Some of my favorite hockey conversations.
And then they always
with Craig.
Yeah. Hey, then the always awkward TV traffic in Omaha at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
Dodge Expressway is backed up at 5 in the morning. I want to mention this as we go.
There's a water main break.
I just never understood that. I mean, there are a lot of people that roll their eyes. We do traffic. I mean, it's no longer from the studio.
Rest in peace.
The Burton studio. But people roll their eyes on why we do traffic on this radio station in a city like Omaha. Like, apparently you've not driven out west.
Oh, my brother-in-law, anytime I complain about traffic, because in Chicago, he's like, come on, this is not traffic.
But the morning shows in this town have gone all in on morning traffic. Like, they have cool graphics and they have the big board and they have a dedicated traffic person who usually is like the
backup weather person.
Hey, you got a great job in Omaha. You're going to be a meteorologist.
And
oh, by the way, you're going to be doing traffic. And you're going to be
But it's a gravy train job.
And you're going to be putting graphics together for the main meteorologist. And when they go to the weather center, make sure you're not turned towards the camera that looks like you're working on the computer.
But no, see, I feel like that is intentional to make it look like the whole weather team's hard work. Like, we got one person, male or female, that is laying out the weather, and our team is crunching data. We're crunching science. We're reading the atmospheric science data. I think it's intentional.
Meanwhile, the other one's on a message board reading about the commitment last night. Like,
we don't know exactly what they're doing, but I've always interpreted when you have another member of the weather team in the background in view of the shot, that it's intentional, because it's like, hey, the team is working around the clock. We give you the most accurate forecast we could possibly give you. I, for one, appreciate that. They could be looking at an online purchase for all I know. They could be looking at Amazon. I don't care. It looks like they're working hard, and I appreciate it. For someone who relies on the weather every day.
What if their young child or mom or dad are watching and all they see is the back of the head of their son?
They'll get their FaceTime. They're
on Saturday.
They're part of the machine that works.
Working for you.
All I ask is one time in front of the green screen, or I'll come in and do traffic in front of the green screen.
I'd like to see you do traffic. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I think you should do it. You got poll.
Yeah.
You could do it.
I remember that's TV. They're like, yeah, you know what? We are a real medium.
Sure.
Whatever you guys do on the radio, you just kind of entertain. Yeah. We will get into
sell yourself short.
The addition to Nebraska's roster and more on Creighton last night. But want to mention this because speaking of watching the weather is supposed to feel like winter. Well, it feels like winter outside today. Mm-hmm. But next week, there's supposed to be some precip, as they say.
Well, that's what Rusty was showing.
But we are not very far away from pitchers and catchers reporting.
Yeah.
How great of a news yesterday. Well, actually, he found out on Monday when he got the call. Cade Povich is a non-roster invitee to the Baltimore Orioles spring training.
Yeah.
He got traded from the Twins to the Orioles. And it actually, the Orioles are going to be right back in the mix to try and make the playoffs. Considering the backload of pitchers in the Twins system, it made sense at the time. Now the Twins, after adding Correa, still need some work with their major league pitchers. But what a great deal for Cade. He is on the fast track to be in the majors. So he is going to spring training as a non-roster invitee with the Orioles. Also, good day for college baseball yesterday, a world that you spent a lot of time in, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
The volunteer assistants are going to be turned into full-time.
Yeah.
And then I saw that the higher-seeded team will always be the home team in the postseason.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way it should be.
If you're good enough to be hosting, you should not be the visiting team on your home field.
Well, and going back to the volunteer assistants, you've been around enough college baseball programs in your time, too. How many of some of those guys, first of all, it's essential to have a staff that goes beyond 2 paid assistants. But to look at the guys that do a lot of the work behind the scenes, not only helping out in development, coaching day in, day out, but also, I mean, you think about your baseball operations guys, you think about some of the ones that are always constantly getting things facilitated. It's not sexy. And to only have the ability to pay 2 assistants, if you want to see this sport at the collegiate level continue to grow, and I think it's made strides, this is a huge part of it. It is. It's great. It's great for everybody. I think of all those volunteer assistants. I think of all those coaches that were getting a stipend. Feel awesome for them. But I feel more than anything, I feel great for the head coaches that now have that ability to get those quality coaches, get them paid, keep them around, because you're losing a lot of those guys to other staffs.
And college baseball, there's more and more people that go to bat for college baseball. God bless Kendall Rogers and the folks at D1 Baseball.
Yep.
They have such a passion for the sport. And every coach that you meet in the sport, they have a passion to grow their game.
Mm-hmm.
And they fight a lot of things because they're baseball.
Yep.
And this is a big moment for the sport to take a volunteer into a full-time. And you're also getting that in hockey and softball as well. So those sports, Olympic sports, are benefiting. But in my opinion, college baseball cannot move forward to really max out what I think it can be on a regular basis, not just for 10 days in Omaha, Nebraska in the month of June. Is 11.7 will always stick with me.
Yep.
11.7 scholarships. We're asking that sport to have 11.7 scholarships. Until they find a way to increase that, college baseball still will be where they are.
Yeah, the 35-man roster.
Even with full-time assistants, you've got to find a way to increase 11.7 for the sport.
And it's for people like, okay, 11.7 on what, 35 at least. And during the post-COVID year, when it returned, you could have even a higher number that you could put on your roster. That is, when you think of it, not even half of your players are getting scholarships, and they're not full scholarships. So, yeah, I mean, what are we doing? I mean, and that's not even in baseball, but you're right, like in softball as well. It's just, it's frustrating for coaches. I know they're advocates, and God bless them for that. You mentioned D1Baseball.com. Kyle Peterson as well is someone that is a very strong voice, trying to push that forward too. But you're right. I mean, even to get that at a little bit over the halfway point, the 50% of 35-man is, Jesus. That, when I think of a lot of the things that exist in the NCAA, and I think of some archaic methods, that is right up there.
Baby steps. But college baseball will be starting in, 5 weeks out?
Yeah.
I think we're 5 weeks out from college baseball
Crazy.
starting. All right, you have a chance next hour to win $100 of my booty. I got to remember this stat next hour in the queue to call, fourth caller. You tell Jimmy what the number is on the stat, and
Don't ask
you
the
will
question.
be a winner. Stetson Bennett, who, wait.
There it is, Gary.
They've moved it. Good on. Good for Channel 6. Yeah.
I just want, can we find out whose it was? Or are we prying too much?
I mean, you slide it over behind the part of the panel on your set that you can't see.
You have someone on the inside there. Can we get confirmation on whose it was?
They went to that shot just for you.
Oh, I bet I'm getting dog cussed.
Letting you know we took care of
He
the
should be
problem.
thank you.
Take down the tweet.
Are you going to get a cease and desist letter or tweet? Hey, come on. You're putting us in bad light here. Do us a favor.
The stat of the day. So Stetson Bennett got a little pushback for being 25 years old.
Oh, all the graphics of who is in the NFL that are younger than him. Not just as old.
That you had a 25-year-old competing against an 18-year-old.
BYU did it for years.
Try telling that to the freshman defensive lineman who is fresh out of high school that is facing a 23-year-old tackle.
Right.
So
is it that much different?
those are non-college football people takes. But
where was the Brandon Weeden, Chris Wanke outrage?
Stetson Bennett is older than 16 starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
That I love.
16 is the number.
16. Wow.
Again, Stetson Bennett and Lamar Jackson were born in the same year.
Mm-hmm.
One just finished up his college career. The other just completed his 5th year in the NFL.
Justin Herbert, amongst others, younger.
I know. Hey, what we've been talking about younger. We got a 23-year-old wide receiver coach.
Yep.
Well, we got a 25-year-old quarterback who's won back-to-back national championships.
Kind of going the opposite way. Yeah, we're getting older with the college players. We're getting younger with the coaches. With the
older than
coaches
16 NFL starting quarterbacks. That is your stat of the day. Coming up a little bit later, Steve Sipple will stop by. His thoughts on an interesting week in terms of portaling and additions to the roster. And what's going to happen to that roster, because Nebraska's a little bit over 85. Who's going to go? Who's going to be in a gots-to-go situation before Nebraska plays against Minnesota? All that to come as we roll till 10 on a Thursday edition of Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Remember, no matter how you listen, it's still AM radio. 1620 The Zone.
Serenity Massage and Energy Work, the largest spa in Council Bluffs, offers you the wellness you deserve. Self-care is healthcare with spa treatments, massage, energy work, Delta products, and more. Make an appointment today and experience the sense of ease and comfort from one of the highest rated spa massage clinics in the metro. It's received a 5-star rating on Google for 7 straight years. Serenity Massage and Energy Work, 5th floor of the U.S. Bank Building at Main and Broadway in Council Bluffs, and at serenitymassageandenergywork.com.
In a house in Omaha, people gather in the kitchen. They don't talk about school and work. They talk about doctors and surgeries. They're the families of Ronald McDonald House Charities in Omaha. And the kitchen is where they come together to share the struggles their children are facing. For these families, it's the little things like a home-cooked meal, even while far from home, that make the biggest difference. Volunteer to prepare a meal by visiting rmhcomaha.org.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Happy New Year. I am Coach Mike Gabinet. As we enter a new year, we want to celebrate the blessings of 2022, and your support is one of those blessings. Maverick Hockey is ranked 4th in the nation in attendance, and we just had our largest attended game since 2018. Your support made that happen. I would encourage you to buy single game tickets for the rest of the season and season tickets for next season.
Get your tickets by calling 402-554-MAVS or by going to omavs.com/ticks.
Now back to Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
You know, one of the things I was surprised about last night at the Outland Banquet, which is such a really, really good event. And it's cool for the person that wins the Outland. You know, they come into town, they go out to Boys Town, they get to meet the football team at Boys Town, hold a press conference, do some things there. They do a lot of stuff with the Outland Award winner. They also treat it kind of as a Nebraska night. And Rule and Trev both kind of alluded to what it would be like in this room if Nebraska had the Outland Trophy winner. I mean, they would have to move it to a new venue if that ever happened. But I was a little bit surprised, and it was great to see him. But I don't think, and again, we played about 50 years ago. It was good to see Larry Jacobson. I don't think a lot of people recognize Larry Jacobson.
Oh.
Because there were a couple of people said, now who was it? Larry Jacobson, one of the best offensive linemen in the history of Nebraska football. So it was good to see him. That's always a cool event. But I was thinking as I left, if, now that the event is here in Omaha, and if Nebraska ever got to that point where they had the winner, what that room would be like. Because basically it's a rah-rah event. I mean, Matt Rule got up and spoke last night. You have the Husker Senior Awards that are given out. But if you had the actual winner was from Nebraska, I mean, that room would blow up. And anybody that ever wonders, and you shouldn't by now, Matt Rule can command a room in front of a microphone standing behind a podium. You got a little background. He can spin it pretty well and say all the right things.
Good.
As an offensive lineman, said the right thing to him about his commitment out of the portal. Walter Rouse discussion.
Nice
Coming up
transition.
next, pick your, and also, are we getting to a moment, even though the summer and the season is a long way away, that we need to pick our quarterback?
Like right now?
Going to be a battle.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle.
People choose, I'm an ESPN guy. I'm a Fox guy. Are you going to be I'm a Casey Thompson guy. I'm a Jeff Sims guy. We start that early in the middle of January for somebody that will not be involved in spring practice. We'll get into that coming up in the next hour. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
More with Gary and Nick after this on 1620 The Zone. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley, brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine on 1620 The Zone.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
Time-saving traffic center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect a little bit of slowdown from 45th to 33rd along L Street. Then along Highway 370, be prepared for a little bit of a delay from 84th to 60th. And other than that, it looks like your commute this morning should be pretty smooth, even if you're running a bit late. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
What does Saul's loan on? Almost everything, like tools, instruments, designer handbags, construction equipment, vehicles, trailers, appliances. $10 to $50,000 super fast and easy with no credit check. Saul's loans on almost everything.
The Zone Inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. Email me, Connor Happer, with the Connor Happer Show at Connor, CONNOR, at 1620thezone.com. Send me your love, your hate, and maybe a few hot takes. The Zone Inbox, presented by Equitable Bank.
Did you know that radon is the #1 cause of lung cancer for non-smokers and that our region has some of the highest levels in the country? Radon Defense Midwest can test and fix your home. Visit radonradio.com for an exclusive offer for 1620 The Zone listeners. That's radonradio.com.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
When you're rolling Charmin, up your soft on the party. Less is more, so roll it back, everybody. Charmin's irresistibly soft and heavy nice. My grip is always soft. It's our party vibe. She's crushing everything, so our chicks feel fly. So every booty wanna touch the sky.
Charmin Ultra Soft is irresistibly soft and more absorbent, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Meet Joe A,
Hi.
Joe B,
Hello.
and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect, support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Hey everyone, Josh and John here for the FanDuel Sportsbook NFL Same Game Parlays. From now through January the 16th, all customers can get up to $100 in free bets, win or lose. All you have to do is put in our promo code 1620, place a total of $20 or more on a Same Game Parlay or Same Game Parlay Plus during the wild card round, and you can get money back in free bets. John, I'll be watching. Cowboys, Bucks, through my fingers. I say it every week. Throw a Dak Prescott interception in, why don't you?
Well, I'm looking at that same game. Now, while I think the Cowboys are going to win, I could parlay a Cowboy money line bet with a Mike Evans anytime touchdown, and that can make my payouts even higher. And if you're new to FanDuel, get up to $100 in free bets, win or lose, when signing up using our promo code 1620. 21 plus in present in Iowa. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max free bet $100. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
I'm former Husker Terry Keneally. And I'm former Husker Titus Adams. Titus and I used to sack quarterbacks, but now we're fighting for the children of East Omaha. Terry and I are on the board of the Q's Fund, which supports the Q's school system, made up of Holy Name, All Saints, and Sacred Heart School, which I am a proud graduate of. Our students receive a values-based education with the family support they need. And they go on to graduate high school at a 96% rate. Learn more about our children at qschools.org.
Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, hour number 2, mornings with Sharp and Handley. Jimmy here as well. Your chance to win $100 coming up in the hour. Next hour, Ask Us Anything, which some might look at Oscars, and rightfully so, and say that's better than $100. We got a big gift card for you, and Ask Us Anything. Anything goes. We're moving it up because we're loaded today. That's coming up at 8 o'clock. Getting your questions to Jimmy at 1620thezone.com. Steve Sipple, John Fanta. As we dive into college basketball for the first time in the new year.
He's excited to be on too.
We have birthed a lot of stars from the show where they got their start being a guest. I mean, John's career is going through the roof, and I think we were one of the first shows to put him on. So we're looking forward to it. And John now does not just Big East basketball, but all basketball. He'll join us at 9. Adam Teicher as well. And then Brian Edwards. So last night in Cincinnati at the Cintas Center, entertaining high-level offensive game where there were 177 points that were scored. It was a shame that nobody got to 50 in the first half, but it was back and forth, and defense was sometimes an afterthought. Sometimes it was good shooting. Sometimes it was just pure laziness. Sometimes it was not boxing out. Second chance points, offensive rebounding hurt Creighton, but not as much, again, as the problem that you're just not going to be able to overcome. I think at this point in the year, there's not all of a sudden somebody walking through that door or somebody that is going to be, hey, I haven't been that guy, but now I am, is Creighton's bench. 87 points were scored by Creighton last night, 84 from the starters. That is an enormous number.
In comparison to 17 from Xavier.
The biggest problem will be is the minutes. Like you can't afford 11 can't be off the floor. I mean, I know he's got to get a breather here or there, and he might get into foul trouble, but there is a huge difference when Kalkbrenner on the floor compared to off the floor. I know that's a no-brainer, but it just you look at when he left the game last night, and there were some things that Xavier does offensively that he couldn't be as much of a rim protector as he normally is, and so you miss the times of some long guys that could go out and play on the perimeter. But once he left the game, I mean, you could tell Xavier was like, oh, here we go.
Right.
The big man isn't in the middle. But how are you going to be able to distribute minutes with your starters and your bench guys so that you don't get to the under 4 media timeout in a close game and all of a sudden guys have hit the wall? Because what happens when you hit the wall, not necessarily on offense, but defense, the legs get really, really heavy. The mind gets a little bit clouded, and you have, faulty box outs, and all of a sudden a second chance point goes up on the big board. I mean, that's going to be a challenge of, okay, I know I got to get guys a breather because we can't run them into the ground. I mean, this league is one of the league will make you pay for running guys into the ground on your own team. is at what point during a game do you say, okay, we have a plan and how we're going to get guys breathers here and there. We're going to play the clock. We're going to, 2 minutes before that under 12 media timeout or under 8 media timeout, we're going to give you a little breather. We see that a lot in the NBA, how they manage, starters when they come out midway through the first half, when they come back in start of the second quarter, I should say midway through the first quarter, second quarter in the NBA. Is that going to have to be a dedicated plan moving forward? Because you gotta find a way to keep starters at least where they're like, okay, I'm fresh. We've reached the under 4. We're in a tight game. Not going to happen today because right now Creighton is 1-5 in 5-point games or less, and they're getting to the final possession. They're getting the right person, I think, to have the ball in their hands, but they're just not getting the right play. And last night was a prime example of both of those things coming together.
This is what I'd always say with the schedule when you feel kind of worn down and you're trying to get minutes for some, not necessarily even minutes for your bench, but more of a necessity. You're trying to give some guys, a breather here and there, as you point out. This is where you get through that part of the schedule. And in February, I always say that this is where you should look like the team that you're going to be in the postseason. What concerns me is, as Mac alluded to, being close, the schedule's been brutal, and it has, okay? And none of that is false, and none of that is, in my opinion, alibying the result. But what concerns me is when you're not getting the production, when there's major liabilities and you're seeing some significant drop-off in lack of bench production, as that grind continues, this is where you're getting in those games against teams that on paper you should beat. And one of the things I brought up yesterday is I get worried about this team if you're not getting a result against some of these really good teams, like a Xavier, like a UConn. Providence this weekend, we'll see what happens. And there's that confidence factor, sure, but then there's just the physical toll that a very long season takes on you, especially when you've played the quality opponent that Creighton has played in the non-conference and now in Big East play. That if you are unable to really substitute because you just you can't afford to. This is what worries me against the DePauls of the conference. This is what worries me against some of the lower half of the conference where you talk about you can ill afford, especially where Creighton is at right now, you can ill afford to drop one of those types of games. Well, that physical toll and the inability to really substitute for a decent amount of time to give guys necessary breathers, that's where sometimes you can see those upsets, especially late in the season. So do you need to have this dramatic transformation from the bench? Well, no, and you're not going to get that. But you got to have more than what you're getting. You definitely have to have more than what you're getting.
We said it yesterday, and I thought of it right before you said it, Gary, and Bill Parcells has always said it. You are what your record says you are. So all these things that we say at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And then thinking ahead to the game this weekend, if they drop that, I mean, it's not something that fans want to accept, but that's what you have.
Yeah, like Fred King's not going to be Kalkbrenner. Okay, he's not even going to give you the same type of presence. So to expect like very little drop off, no, you're kidding yourself. You're fooling yourself. But can you just kind of piece things together? Can you be a quality bridge until you can get Kalkbrenner back into the game? And there are other examples with the backcourt as well. Can you just piece things together, keep things in check while guys are able to just kind of be on the bench for a short period of time, a short burst, so you are finishing those moments strong with the guys that need to be out there, especially in key stretches of the game.
I don't think Matt could have imagined when he was putting this roster together. And we talked in the offseason and even in the preseason, man, is this a team that could go 10 deep? I mean, they got their starting five is
I remember that.
The best starting five in all of college basketball. But you know what? They might be able to go 10 deep. But boy, there is a major drop-off from the starting five to the sixth guy to the seventh guy, not only in ability, but just in basketball smarts. That's what hurt him in key situations last night, whether it would be in the first 10 minutes of the game or the last 10 minutes of the game. But I don't know, all of a sudden you're not going to wake up today and go, okay, I'm going to learn how to trust blank because it's so up and down of who's going to give you what on a nightly basis. I mean, Mr. King, what happened?
Right.
Where did we go? We were moving along fine in our development, and then all of a sudden, last night, he was lost,
Mhm.
and he couldn't give you anything. All right, 7-10. Something else that happened yesterday is Nebraska got a really smart guy to say yes to come play offensive line. 3.52 GPA at Stanford.
That's
in
like 10.
Yeah, biomechanical engineering.
Okay, it's like 20.
Not bad. Biomechanical engineering. I don't know if I could spell all of that
That's some
correctly.
Craig Krenzel stuff.
So Walter Rouse, that's him. And so he says yes to Nebraska. It was in the portal. It was Iowa. It was Oklahoma. And then it was Nebraska. And he certainly plays a position of need. And Nebraska's gone to the Pac-12, excuse me, and gotten portal guys. They got their center, and they got one of their tackles yesterday. Will both of them bounce and go to the NFL? Who knows? One's got 2 years left. Rouse has got 1 year left.
Yeah.
But they're at a position of need, and you need that. And it comes on the heels of the day before where Nebraska loses a lineman to Florida and kind of an 11th hour flip. Where did he decide on Florida because that was his best path? Was there something else going on? You know, we speculated was name, image, likeness, and a nice little bag delivered. And then yesterday you hear that because Florida's NIL is so, I guess, unreliable, promises that are made, that they may have lost a quarterback commitment. So who knows? But that's not, Nebraska can't control that. They can only control getting a guy who I think they made a priority.
Mhm.
And my thing, alluded to in the first hour, now the next step is recruiting where you don't have a connection to your head coach. It is something that you went out and won a battle. And if you prioritize a player, that's a guy that you need, okay? Really good football player, but it's also at a position that we need. How do you get there? Do you get there by laying out a plan? They have this blueprint. They always talk about the plan. Or in this case, which I believe is the case, this is a guy that they identified and said it's a priority because you need a tackle. We need somebody who has played over 1,000 snaps in college football. Remember, it's a roster that's going to have 4 guys that have played over 1,000 snaps.
Yeah.
And a guy who there's a lot of promise, but he's got to stay healthy. And we really still don't know about Teddy Prohaska. Is if you dipped into the NIL for Walter Rouse, good on you. Because you identified him as a priority and said, this is the guy on our board that we got to get. Everybody does a board.
Yeah.
Got a board in recruiting, got a board when it comes to portal. And how do you get this guy? Because you can't let this guy walk. And there's going to be, as Matt Rule is that's going to be his way of reward and retain on your roster with NIL. But if you need to get into a battle with a guy you want, make sure that you're not beat by a good package. Now, I don't think you overextend yourself for a guy. And I think in this case, they put together a good deal with a plan and also some cash. And they got a guy that if he comes in and he starts 12 plus games for Nebraska next year at tackle,
it's a win.
That's an absolute win for Nebraska.
Absolutely is. And the other part about it is when I kind of think of who Nebraska beat out, okay, they don't typically, when it comes to offensive linemen, they don't typically beat out Iowa and Oklahoma. Okay. And so there's more of a track record with Iowa. There's more of a track record with Oklahoma getting guys to the next level. Okay. So it had to be a solid sale. I know we discussed it yesterday too, wondering if you kind of went a little bit more all in on Rouse when it came to NIL compared to even Mazuka. And this isn't to dismiss the Mazuka miss. Okay. This is going to be like, well, to heck with that guy. We didn't get him. No, that could have been significant as well. But I said it yesterday, and that was if you could get Rouse, who has zero connections to the staff, that you can't really connect the dots, anything to anybody on the staff, and you can win that person over, especially a guy who comes in with the experience that he does for a group that just needs that. And what it can also do to your overall offensive line rotation to where you could, in a perfect world, possibly play Turner Corcoran on the interior, where you can, I'll just say it, where you don't have to make Bryce Benhart a big part of it, depending on Prohaska, you're right, but depending on the health of Teddy Prohaska. Wanting to see, me personally, experience over a guy that we've been waiting to have it all come together in a guy like Bryce Benhart. Okay, I hope he proves me wrong. I really do. But something tells me that he kind of is what he is. This, to me, it hammers, not only addresses, it hammers the need. And yes, the health is concerns. We understand. It's like recruiting. Same thing with a transfer portal. You never know when a guy comes into your system, regardless of the experience he has, how well that's going to turn out. And a lot of it does have to do with health. We've seen that too. But as far as a need, that's the key thing. What Nebraska is trying to piece together on top of getting a guy to replace Trent Hickson and Ben Scott. Those are two important additions in addressing two important needs. How it works out remains to be seen. But I'm with you. If he starts 12 games, it's a huge win at that position. And what it can do to guys maybe playing more in a natural position for this offensive line to put them in a position to where they can really hone in on what their true skill set is and not necessarily playing out of position. I mean, there is a trickle-down effect that could be very beneficial to this offensive line as a whole if, and that's the key word, if this works out, if Rouse is healthy and can stay healthy.
And it looks like he's going to be okay. He just won't be able to go through physically through spring after the labrum injury. So you will have, Casey Thompson and Walter Rouse will not be part of your offense on the field for a spring. But you've got 39 starts at Stanford. You got Ben Scott starts at Arizona State. So ideally, and this is different from last year where you went into the portal with offensive linemen, and they're automatic guys that are going to start. I mean, instead of fillers, and you put yourself in the situation. I will climb on the hill and take a D about high school linemen.
Yeah.
Linemen, but you've been in this situation, so you put yourself where you've got to go after portal offensive linemen. But essentially, you have in a month figured out your center position, and you figured out one of your tackle positions. And the next question will be, is he a left tackle or a right tackle? He has said they presented to him left tackle. Well, Nebraska had a left tackle. They still have a left tackle who hasn't made it through September.
Right.
And, I think we have to hit the reset button on Teddy Prohaska. Not, he's not going to be very good. Is he still hasn't played a lot of football.
Right.
And whatever you thought about him last year, I think you have to erase because he was put in a situation where he should not have been playing as early as he was playing last year. But because Nebraska put themselves in that situation, they had to force Teddy into playing earlier than he should have been playing, and he wasn't up to speed. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it through, the month of September, and his first 2 years at Nebraska have been interrupted by injuries. Now he's going to be good to go for the spring, and we like what we see, but let's be honest, we don't know fully what we see, and he's got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
So if I get 12 starts out of Ben Scott and I get 12 starts out of Walter Rouse, I can figure out the rest. I can figure out Noelle coming back, who
don't forget that.
I get 12 starts out of him at guard. All of a sudden, I got two spots that I have to account for, and one of them is probably accounted for already. It just, would it be a bigger, it might even be a bigger win to get 12 starts out of Teddy Prohaska more than 12 starts out of Walter Rouse.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're essentially in a spot where you have to figure out with 4 or 5 guys, 2 positions, and essentially just one position now after that. Yesterday. It's one of, when this is all said and done about additions before you get to spring football, Walter Rouse is in your top 5. You have, I think Corey Campbell is in your top 5. I think Evan Cooper, the defensive back coach, is in your top 5. Evan Cooper and EJ Barthel will speak today in Lincoln. Ben Scott is in your top 5. And I will say this because he's got me really, really intrigued. I think Eric Fields is also in your top 5 additions that you've had in a month under Matt Rule. Who would anybody else you'd put in there?
You don't want to go Billy Kemp? Kemp's interesting. Kemp to me is,
if he was a bona fide wide receiver
right.
1, yes,
exactly, and it doesn't sound like he is. No, it's hard to argue that. And I'm glad you went with some of the coaches there too. That when we're not looking at guys because is there a Trey Palmer? No, but think about what you can do when you find offensive line stability. If that's what this leads to, how that makes your backfield better, how that makes your quarterback better. What if it is Casey starting? Think about what Casey can do with just an extra second. So that addition, what it can do to the entire
I
offense.
see what you did there, because everybody has to declare who they're choosing as the quarterback.
Do we do that
You're a Casey
already?
guy.
Just threw a name out.
No wavering,
I
everybody.
just threw
January
a name out
12th,
there.
Declare yourself. Which fighter are you choosing? Are you a Casey guy or are you a Jeff guy?
Can't we just?
I'm just preparing people for this is what it's going to be like. But
Can't we wait for winter workouts?
No. Hey, you've been around this long enough. Come on now.
Come on. Can't we just wait till spring ball starts?
Nope. You have to choose now.
Start getting updates.
Head coach might make you choose by comments.
Can I just choose competition? I'm pro competition.
Yeah, very.
As long as your guy wins the competition.
I like Casey. I'll be perfectly honest. I know what I'm getting from Casey and the idea of maybe, and I'm not trying to say this offensive line is all of a sudden going to be one of the most formidable groups in the Big Ten. And it doesn't need, that's the point though. It doesn't need to be, but I want to see Casey with more stability in the offensive line. So yeah, okay, I'll go in. I'm Casey. I'm team Casey. You got me.
7/21, January 12th.
I'm team Casey.
You can't change now.
Okay, I won't.
So once you declare what quarterback you're choosing on which team you're on, you can't change.
All right, I'm team Casey.
Okay.
This has been Nick Handley for Casey Thompson.
I'm just preparing people that this is, you're going to have to declare which quarterback, and you can't go, well, I just want the one that helps Nebraska win the most games. No, you got to
put the guy out there who's going to help us be the most successful.
You got to pick
that
your
guy is.
You got to pick your guy.
Casey can run a little bit if needed.
Love this. It's January 12th, and we're going to talk about a quarterback battle.
Hey, we spent 2 hours talking about offensive line a few weeks ago.
Guys, Jebby is in the portal still.
Which quarterback is not in the portal?
120, by the way. 120. I don't know if that's including the guys that have already been scooped up, but 120.
See, it's too bad Nebraska has 6 scholarship quarterbacks, because I'd like them to try and get a 7th just to see who would be interested in coming to Nebraska.
Well, I mean, are we convinced that Chuba is still going to be around? What is Logan going to do?
My friend, prepare yourself for the purge. Nebraska's going to purge this roster.
I would think so.
I mean, it's going to be between now and May.
Scorched earth.
There will be. You know what? I don't think it has to. I don't think you have to look at it negatively.
No, I don't think it's negative at all. I say positive.
Nebraska's over 85, and there are some guys who I'm surprised are still here, because I just don't see a path for them to playing on a consistent week-to-week basis where they've been here for a while. I don't think we need to look at a roster purge as a negative.
No.
It can look at it as beneficial for the player and for the team. But you're either going to have some difficult conversations or let things just play out where somebody realizes, they've recruited over me, and that's what they told me they were going to do when I got here, and I haven't been able to make headway. But I want to play. I don't want to sit on the bench. There's got to be a better place for me. So
help you.
So that's when someone realizes on their own. That's a lot easier, Then, hey, Bob, come into my office. Be here at 2 and bring your playbook.
Bring your playbook.
Coach wants to see you.
Coach wants to see you. Bring a playbook
and bring a pen, because we have some paperwork to fill out.
I feel the former is what's probably more likely. You just kind of see the writing on the wall. You come to that conclusion. But for people, I know it's funny to me that, and we saw this when Fred took over in basketball, seen this in baseball as well, where how could you not want to keep that guy? Coach's job is to win. I mean, that's what their job is. That's what they get paid for. And if they don't do a good job, they're out of a job. So yeah, you got to have those conversations. There's only so many people you can have in a certain position room. There's only certain scholarships you can give out. Like, yeah, at some point, if you feel that this person is not going to be a part of it, you got to have that conversation of, hey, it probably would do you the best possible service right now to look at other options. Now, if you want to remain just being a student here, we will support that. But if you want to play, it's probably going to benefit you to look elsewhere. And I've seen people feel like that's not being loyal. Well, look where loyalty can get you sometimes. And sometimes coaches are loyal to a fault, whether it's with their own staff or with their own personnel. That is not a winning formula, in my opinion.
So there are 9 scholarships over.
I still think they're going to be way under.
You get a chance to do this once when you take over a program, because everybody, when you take over a new job, you want to surround yourself with people you're familiar with. Look at how Look at how coaches build their staff.
Yep.
I mean, look at Matt Rule.
Mhm.
Matt Rule wanted his first staff to be guys that he's familiar with, guys that he trusts, guys that he knows what they're going to do, and they know what he's doing.
Yeah.
So, everybody's talking the same language and on the same page. And you go out and you are probably more familiar. I mean, I think it's probably safe to say Matt Rule is more familiar with Billy Kemp than he is with Alante Brown.
Yep.
So you're going to surround yourself with people you're familiar
Right.
with and then work backwards. But you get every new coach gets this one opportunity. I don't want to see you fleecing the roster in year 4 or 5 to save your butt.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, that's a bad sign.
You get one opportunity.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it's a business. We understand it. This used to be a negative thing around here about purging a roster or roster management. It happens. It has to happen. And you did it to yourself that you have to do it.
Right.
Because you have a lot of guys who haven't made the progress that you thought they would when you recruited them. And they're not going to play. And it's unfair to them. It's unfair to you if they don't see a path to consistent playing time. I mean, I wouldn't, people say, well, I got to be loyal, stick it out. Well, if you don't have a path and it's pretty clear that you don't have a path, or you realize that, man, skill set wise, I'm not going to be able to be at that level.
Right.
I got to find somewhere else that matches my skill set level. That's not a problem. That's okay to admit out loud. We've been so worried about admitting that out loud for the longest time. Both sides, the player and the coach, have to admit it out loud, and everybody moves on. But this will be, there's no way there's going to be 6 scholarship quarterbacks at Nebraska in the middle of May.
No.
I mean, but you're 9 over now, and Nebraska may not be done.
I don't think they are. Now,
I mean, they offered the kid from Arlington, Smith Flores, yesterday. I mean, that looks like it's a no-brainer that he's going to jump in. So then you would be 10 over. You still have, less than a week for guys to go into the portal.
Yeah. Real quickly, I understand on the loyalty thing that people maybe are going to say that I just contradicted myself, because I talked about how when it comes to making roster decisions, you've got to put loyalty off to the side. You've got to look at what is going to be best suited for this roster and trying to build and trying to have success, incremental progress. And then I understand you could easily throw, well, isn't Matt Rule, isn't he being loyal to his guys, bringing them in on staff? No, there's a difference between loyalty and being familiar, in my opinion. You've got the familiarity of all these guys. This isn't the only group of coaches that Matt Rule has ever worked with. No, these are guys that he is identifying, that he is familiar. He knows what to expect out of them, and he has identified them because he feels they are going to be best suited for the position that he needs them to be in. It's not they were with me at the last stop, so I'm bringing them all over. I don't really know if it's going to work out with this guy or this guy here in this position. I feel very confident. I could be proven wrong. 100% could be proven wrong. I feel like these are guys that, yes, he has had some type of connection or background with, but he sees something in each and every one of these guys that, yes, there's maybe a familiarity and comfort level too, but more than anything, he's tabbed these guys because he feels this is the best possible situation getting the staff together, not because he feels he owes this person or that person something. There's a big difference there.
We will ask Steve Sipple coming up an hour about roster management. That's one of his favorite questions that we get into.
Just lead off with it and come out swinging.
Nebraska, there's also part of Walter Rouse made an interesting comment yesterday. I think he was talking to Munson about his trip to Lincoln, which we probably should discuss out loud, that we either take for granted because we live here or don't want to admit it. But he made a comment that is still all too familiar about Lincoln.
Good or bad?
His thoughts of Lincoln. Well, his opinion got changed. I'll share that quote with you coming up here in a little bit. Again, Steve Sipple coming up. We got John Fanta on his thoughts on what to do with Creighton, the rest of college basketball. There's also in the SEC last night. So flipping around, I was at an event and watching basketball.
Jesus, pay attention to the event you're at.
How about Alabama? Alabama went into Arkansas last night and drubbed the Razorbacks. Alabama basketball is number 4 in the country. Pretty good hire by Greg Byrne. Hire Nate Oates.
You mentioned Missouri, by the way, too.
They got beat last night.
82-64.
That's
That was
good.
a
Yeah,
boat race.
they ran into Buzz.
Boat race.
Literally.
They did.
Mhm.
Also, Adam Teicher will join us, and Brian Edwards as well. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West 1 Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. 1620 The Zone wants you to win Gary's booty. Whoa, wait, what? Win $100 or more every weekday on Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Listen during the 6 and 8 o'clock hours for Gary and Nick to give you their stat of the day. Then during the 7 and 9 a.m. hours, listen for the cue to call, know the stat, and win a buttload of cash. Answer it correctly, and Gary's booty gets even bigger. Yep, we'll keep adding $100 to the booty bank till the correct answer's given on air. Win your share of Gary's booty on Mornings with Sharp and Handley with 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A cold and blustery day ahead Thursday. Expect clouds in the morning with some afternoon sunshine. North winds will be gusting 30 to 35 miles per hour. Temperatures will hang in the mid-20s most of the day, though feeling like the teens. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV Newswatch 7.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley, brought to you by MD West 1 Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine on 1620 The Zone.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
I'm saving traffic center. We have no accidents to report at this time, but you can expect some significant slowdown from Harrison to Pacific Street along 204th. Then on L, be prepared for some significant slowdowns from 90th to 79th. And on Dodge, traffic is beginning to slow down only a little bit from 80th to 72nd. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time, Saving Traffic was brought to you by Fernando's.
Come on, when was the last time you had your Fernando's fix? It doesn't get any better than lunch, dinner, carry out, even catering from Fernando's. Get your Fernando's fix. 114th and Dodge, 75th and Pacific, and FernandosOmaha.com.
From basketball to volleyball, baseball to softball, soccer, tennis, and so much more, the Creighton sports season is packed with action. The 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law, covers it all. Each week, we visit with Blue Jay athletes and coaches to hear their stories and document their climb through the Big East Conference. The 1620 The Jays podcast drops each Friday morning and is found at 1620thezone.com and all major podcast platforms. Just search 1620 The Jays. Covering all things Creighton Blue Jays, it's the 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law from 1620 The Zone.
Woodhouse brings you the experts and insight to keep your vehicle road ready. From regular maintenance to larger issues, our team of service advisors and brand certified techs have the solutions to get you and your vehicle back on the road. Plus, you can enjoy convenience of scheduling online, amenities like pickup and delivery, and for quick fixes, comfortable lounges within our dealerships. Bringing you more every time since 1975. Service with Woodhouse.
Listen to the Woodhouse Auto Family Blue Jay shoot-around and overtime shows. The Creighton men's basketball pregame and postgame shows on 1620 The Zone. The Woodhouse Auto Family Blue Jay shoot-around and overtime shows are also presented by Burton AC Heating, Plumbing, and more, by Barry Law, by Union Bank and Trust, and by DJ's Dugout. Before and after each Creighton game, exclusively on your home for the Creighton Blue Jays. 1620 The Zone, 1620 The Zone mobile app, and 1620thezone.com.
Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill is your home for the big game. Whether it's the pro football playoffs or a rivalry on the hardwood, you'll find all the action on Oscar's upgraded audio-video system. With 40 TVs and massive dual projectors, the game has never looked better. Pair that with their award-winning char-buffed wings and $7.99 Monday through Friday lunch specials. Oscar's Pizza and Sports Grill has everything you need. 173rd and West Center Road, and for takeout at 162nd in Maple.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gary Sharp. It's Maverick basketball game day. Tonight, the Mavericks are home against North Dakota at Baxter Arena, and I'll have all the play-by-play action on News Talk 1290 Coil, beginning at 6:30 with a pregame show. Tip-off is 7 o'clock in this Keys Summer League showdown between the Mavs and the Fighting Hawks on News Talk 1290 Coil.
Meet Joe A,
Hi.
Joe B,
Hello.
and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect, support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Don't miss this week's Zone Deal.
This week's half-off deal is Cops. Receive 2 $25 gift vouchers for just $25. Cops makes delicious pizza, fresh salads, and tasty charred wings. For the basic menu, click copspizza.com. And for the extended menu, visit them at Shadow Lake Town Center, 180th and Center, and the newly reopened 72nd and Jones locations.
Zone deals go fast. 9 a.m. Friday, 1620thezone.com.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
In on the Zone on a Thursday. Jimmy, Nick, and Gary. Didn't go so well in Cincinnati last night for local basketball for Blue Nebraska. But women's basketball was good last night. Nebraska got back on the winning track. Amy Williams, for some of us, Amy Gusso, 300th career win.
Nice. Congrats.
And they got off the schneid, and they blew out Penn State. Moriarty at the end of the game just kind of heaved up. That's it was number one on Sports
It
Center.
should be.
Mhm.
It was unbelievable.
Wait, just threw it up at the end of the game and it went in? Like just
just a half court, half-hearted, just lob, and it went in, and it was on top place. Scott Van Pelt led with it.
Man, that had to be
last night.
quite the you betcha then.
We should try and get the radio call of
I
that.
bet, yeah.
I will look.
I hope this
I want to
person
hear
doesn't
what
exist.
Happer said on PA.
Yeah. Oh, that's where you just lose your mind. You just kind of blend in with the crowd noise there. I'm pretty sure.
And there's your crossover.
98.7. I'll go an obscure percentage. 98.7% of people who saw that highlight outside of the state of Nebraska were like, "Wow, that's awesome." There was at least they saw the score graphic and so like, "Why are you putting up a shot?" I'm like, no, she was just chucking the ball. I don't even know if she was really trying to get it towards the hoop, and it just so happened to go. But I guarantee you there's someone like, oh, come on, that's classless.
Penn State be better. Got beat by 29. Seton Hall be better. You got drubbed by Creighton last night. The only disappointment about that, and by the way, Nebraska plays Ohio State Saturday at PBA. That's a huge game for Nebraska women. Creighton, who has played an unbelievable schedule, just hammered Seton Hall last night, and they had a nice spot. It was a nice doubleheader on FS1.
Yeah.
I know it was 8
Right
o'clock
to it.
last night. Man, they started the game. They do like the wide shot for the tip off.
You see the crowd.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Should there have been more fans last night at Sokol?
Yeah, I
for
thought so
that?
too. That was one of the first things I noticed.
They've drawn really well. Now they've played a really nice home schedule. They haven't played much at home, but they've played a nice home schedule. And I'm disappointed last night. I mean, Coach Flan's program, they've gotten into a point where they have some really good fans. So they have, just like everybody, especially take out the men's basketball for Nebraska and Creighton. The women's basketball fans and the women's sports fans are extremely loyal. That with Nebraska and Creighton volleyball, it's a lot of the same people, but they're very, very loyal. They're going to be there every night, whether you're 0-25 or you're 25-0.
Yeah.
Same way. I haven't on a regular basis gone to a Nebraska women's basketball game in about 15 years. But if I go on a regular basis, I can tell you some of the same people I remember seeing 15 years ago are still going to the women's game.
Sure.
Okay. So those sports draw some of the most loyal people. just how do you get at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night for people that love basketball and love Creighton to come? Because that was unfortunate. That program's in a spot where they should have more butts and seats in a very, very comfortable place to watch a basketball game.
Yeah, and that's I thought maybe the blessing and the curse of the run that they had last year of getting to the Elite Eight. You know, you hope that, okay, that is going to create a sustainable buzz. And you know it and I know it. Unfortunately, when you do maybe have a core group of crowd and then you're kind of looking for the rest of the public to kind of buy into your product, unfortunately, there are certain programs that need to do it more on a regular basis. And I'm not saying that, Flan needs to be in the Elite Eight every year, but I was excited for him from that standpoint of like, wow, this is going to be huge for that product. Other than when UConn comes to town, like there going to be a lot of people in the seats. And as a first, it's funny you mentioned that as the first thing I noticed when they kind of went to that wide shot right before tip, I'm like,
Well,
the
I
sparse.
don't know. I mean, I know the men played before the women played last night, and you could watch it on your phone, like some of us did. But I also think there's the part, and maybe it's different with Creighton. I have a better feel of the Nebraska fan. There are basketball fans, but I don't know that there's an extreme crossover for the men's basketball fan to the women's basketball fan. Just because
I
you're a
don't either.
basketball fan,
Yeah.
you support Nebraska,
Right.
but you might I'm going to every men's game, and you pay attention to the women's game.
Mhm. Yep.
That's the same with
That's
Creighton,
I
where
don't
they
think so.
don't share a lot of crossover, that you have a dedicated women's basketball fan, or at a place like Creighton where basketball is really good. You support basketball and you support Creighton, whatever sport it is they're wearing blue.
There are Creighton fans. This goes back to my time PA announcing and doing a little radio with them. If you have the two schools that are playing within, say, hours of each other, and they're both home, you are going to have a group. And I wouldn't say it's a group that's going to fill up 50% of your arena or a so-called auditorium, but you're going to have a group that's always going to choose to go to the Creighton women's basketball game. They will watch the men's game afterwards or before, whenever it was. They will make that commitment to go. But obviously there are far more that are with the men's side that are going to make sure that's where their butts are, and then they will, feel good about any updates they're getting with the women's basketball program. I think it's just as simple as that. I just don't think that you get a lot of the 10, 12,000 that go consistently to watch the men play at the CHI Health Center are also, you're going to get 7,000 of those to make their way over to DJ Sokol Arena on a regular basis. Now, they'll maybe go once or twice, but it's not going to be consistent.
With Omaha, I know this, and men's basketball is at Baxter tonight against North Dakota, 7 o'clock. You can hear it over on 1290 Quell. They don't have a lot of crossover.
No.
They have a few
Couple.
diehards
Yeah.
that sit courtside
Yep.
that are there
Were
for
they on the
men's
same
and
thing?
women's,
Yeah.
but they market them separately. I don't think you have probably the smallest crossover of the basketball fan at
Agreed.
Omaha, where I'm a men's basketball fan. I don't pay any attention to women's basketball. Or, I'm just an Omaha fan. I'll go, like Mr. Red Army, Rick.
Yeah.
He'll
Right.
support it, Scott Vlasic, who, by the way, got
Scott, yeah.
I was on Channel 7 last night talking about the outage.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay, yeah.
shout out to him.
The aviation program.
They
yeah.
go to every sporting event. They just support the university. Where I just, women's basketball doesn't draw very well at Omaha anyhow. I just don't. There's not hardly a crossover at all, in my opinion.
Scott and his, I believe, daughters, huge women's basketball fans. He gets pretty animated in those games. I know he did the men's games too, but in the women's games,
he's got good seats. He can
he
sit right
does.
there and
Yeah.
chew on the
It's great.
officials.
Oh, he gets fired up,
I
man.
have your radio call, by the way. It's a
All
barn
right, so let's
burner.
hear this. So this is at
It's
the
good.
end. This is the end of the Nebraska Penn State game last night. We'll give credit to the Nebraska Sports Network and the fabulous women's basketball voice of Matt Coatney. Just nonchalant end of the game.
He and Jeff are just talking.
A drubbing as Nebraska
Yeah.
is hammering Penn State last night, and then this happened. Okay,
That's good.
Now,
Spot
I
on.
got a
Spot on.
question here. What's most impressive about that call by Coatney and him and Jeff Dreesch afterwards? Is it the call or that Coatney, being a good company man, was able to slide in that Central Valley
It's that.
sponsors the threes in the Nebraska women's game on the radio?
It's remembering that was actually a legitimate 3 and it's a Central Valley Egg 3.
Nonchalant.
Bless that man at all costs.
Yeah.
Coatney is an OG.
Did not miss a beat.
That's awesome. All right, we got the wrap up. Well, it goes in.
Yeah, it's like they're getting ready to thank everybody in the broadcast, set up the post game. Hey, where did that come? And it was like the way he describes like a frisbee toss. It was.
We'll be back with the post game right after this.
Yeah.
Let me read you a quote. We talked about Nebraska football. Yesterday got a commitment out of the portal of Walter Rouse, who has started 39 games at tackle at Stanford. Now, on his visit, he was fed some stuff. We got to, Jimmy, track down Walter Rouse because he appears to be a very, very good interview. And you can tell that he was fed some stuff or in discussion on his visit.
Yeah.
Like he was told that they're looking at him at left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's a guy that's, been playing left tackle. Yeah. He also said, I know there are haters and doubters out there about Nebraska football. Well, Walter, you're new here. We just went through a 4-8 season. So
yeah,
there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be doubting. But he said a couple of things, and this is a really, really good interview with Brian Munson. He did one on his visit with BC.
Right.
He did one with Muntz yesterday. And these are a couple of quotes, and I'll just read them, and then we're going to go to a break. We'll discuss them on the other side. And this is all important of when you're recruiting outside of the 500-mile radius, where people that are inside of the 500-mile radius have a general sense of what the landscape around here is.
Mm-hmm.
We're in a state of 1.9 million, and there's a lot of rural parts of Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're from this area, you live it, you know it, okay? But when you are not from here and you come here for the first time, this is what Walter Rouse said. Quote, aside from the great offensive line coach and all the people at Nebraska, that line will catch some people, and all these other factors, I have to say, going into Lincoln, I was really expecting what I didn't see at all. When I got to campus and I saw the lights, the hotels, and how urban it was, and not just a bunch of cornfields to my left and right. Now you know why Nebraska, Creighton, Omaha, when national broadcasts come in here, they get upset when they don't show the beauty of the city of Omaha or Lincoln. Right. Instead, they go 20 miles outside of town to a cornfield.
Yeah.
Okay. You got people, that's their perception.
Mm-hmm.
You're walking
into
cattle. You're walking into Lincoln, and there's animals walking in the middle of O Street.
Tailgating.
Now, this is another part. Quote, and the NIL. There are a ton of NIL deals to do in Nebraska. There are no professional teams to compete with. There isn't an NFL team or an NBA team. There's really not another school to even compete with. There isn't. There's no anybody else that plays Division I football.
True.
There are countless opportunities for that. And I'm a big food guy. I went to a breakfast spot that served beignets, and I couldn't believe that. New Orleans has the best, but these were incredible. Green Gateau?
I was just going to ask, do we know what breakfast
That's kind of their go-to of where they take
beignets.
recruits.
Okay.
So, was surprised how urban it was. Not just a bunch of cornfields to my left and my right.
That should be on like the Nebraska tourism. There should be a PSA right there. Walter, can we use you up an NIL deal for them?
Now they are very calculated.
Hey,
like when you pick up, hey, when they pick up recruits, whether sometimes they have to fly into Omaha, and they never get off on Cornhusker Highway. By the way,
yeah,
they never drive a recruit down Cornhusker Highway. Now they might get off. They take 12th Street and they come into or 9th and 10th Street and come into downtown.
Mm-hmm.
But it is very calculated on when they pick up a recruit from the Lincoln Municipal Airport, their route to the stadium.
Yeah, it should be.
Definitely.
Because before you even get to the facility.
Because I don't think you see a cornfield when you leave the municipal airport in Lincoln.
And that's the idea behind
driving the normal way.
That first impression. Think about when you're an impressionable young man and your decision to either play somewhere, as a high school recruit or even as a transfer. There's stereotypes. There's parts of the country that you haven't seen that you just assume are what they are. And then you're seeing something that is maybe a little bit more familiar to you or something that you had no idea existed. It leaves an impression. And then, so you're I'm just taking you through what my thought process would be. Then, so you're kind of processing that, and all of a sudden you get to the best part of it for your experience, and that is seeing facilities, seeing stadiums, seeing what is being built, getting the renderings of that. You're seeing all of the stuff that you're going to have a chance to have at your disposal, and also the fact that the city, and for what you've seen of the state, is nothing what you saw it is. Like that can have its lasting impression. I'm not saying it's going to make you choose school X over school Y, but it's smart. That's what you have to do. And I would love to say that we don't hear that a lot, but we hear it all the time, especially with Omaha and Lincoln.
Do we hear that with other schools in the Big Ten that have a little bit of a rural area? I mean, we've all been to Champaign.
Yeah.
You don't have to go very far off the campus in Champaign to find cornfields.
No. I feel like that is a little more isolated than what you see in Lincoln.
I mean, I don't know. I've ever heard this about Iowa City. Now,
no.
I mean, you have to search a little bit in Iowa City, but it's not very far from Kinnick Stadium. You can go and find a cornfield.
Yeah.
And you got to go a little bit from Memorial Stadium to find a cornfield. But are we surprised that in 2022 into 2023, and, he comes across as an old man, like the way he speaks. He's very mature. I mean, you're 3.52 in biomechanical engineering. You got to have a good head on your shoulders. Mm-hmm. But should we be surprised that people still think about, like, Lincoln is a bunch of cornfields?
No.
In 2022, 2023, where there's more access to video and things about a city that you may be visiting, or is this just something that Nebraska will have to overcome, and they just say, man, if we can just get you to campus, we can just get you to campus?
I think it's that.
Yeah.
I really do. I don't, that's why I just kind of laughed at it. I mean, I don't think it's really ever going to change.
Anything, he should say it louder for the people in the back.
Well, I mean,
even if you go on the internet and you like Google Memorial Stadium, like pictures of Memorial Stadium, there's no farmland that you can see in any of those pictures.
Look at that barn.
But think about when we were getting this in the crossover about just pop culture references. Think about the amount of times we talk about like Yellowstone and how it depicts a certain part of Yellowstone and the beauty in the land and everything. But there's people in people in Montana that are probably not overly flattered by the way maybe some things are being depicted. And I know it's different, but I mean, think about we were talking about that horrible TV show with Dak Shepard, Bless This Mess. Yeah. How do they depict Nebraska? In the middle of a just rural area. I don't even know if there was cornfields around, but I mean, from a pop culture reference, that still kind of exists, those stereotypes of certain places in the country, that if you're just kind of latching on to sort of, the vague description of it from that standpoint, you probably are always just going to have that in the back of your mind. And you probably know, I think kids, and especially getting some direction from their parents, probably understand it's not all that. It's probably not what you see, but until you actually see something completely different, I think you're going into it thinking that's what you're going to see.
I mean, people go to Kansas State, Jimmy. I can go to Bill Snyder Family Stadium, and not very far away is still down the street,
across the street.
Yeah. Well, then until they put the hospital up, that used to be a farm field.
Mm-hmm.
We were tailgating and said farm field. I think it was 2005, and I was enjoying many beverages, and up next to our area comes this adorable little baby goat, and I tried to take it home with us.
Then you turn the other way and you go to Heckyville.
Exactly. So it's right next door. Yeah. And the fans that were next to us were K-State fans. Like, yeah, this is their land.
Yeah, I don't know if it's ever going to be different than what it is as far as expectation of people outside the Midwest. I think in the Midwest, you kind of understand that there's a little bit more than meets the eye as far as what you hear. But I think, when you're talking about California, when you're talking about Florida, even to some extent Texas, especially in the East Coast, you're probably thinking this is what you're going to see. And so in a good way, it's a little bit more of a, very positive surprise, but I think it is a surprise nonetheless. I don't know if you're shocked. Oh my God, but I think there is an element of surprise, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, I was surprised because he's a DC kid to Stanford, so he probably didn't spend much time in the Midwest.
Flyover country.
There's got to see that's all my book. I'm gonna sit down with former coaches and talk about recruiting stories.
Yeah,
and at a place like Nebraska, that is in a state that we are very prideful of our rural background. Of how many times someone will ask them, George Darlington has alluded to it a little bit. When George Darlington used to recruit in Los Angeles, he would have to explain a little bit that it's okay. And I mean and there's been Lincoln looks entirely different than it did in the mid 90s. That it's okay. It's safe out here.
Yeah.
We do have running water. We have electricity. Okay. We have television.
Right.
But coaches in places like Lincoln that'll run into some of those questions from a player is like, well, what do you do?
Right. But think about it.
Then that coach will go, well, we do have a city of 1 million people that's 45 minutes away.
Well, and you say we take pride in our rural background. I think we also take pride in winning people over, because think about it. You see this in Omaha athletics. We've seen it from Lincoln, Creighton, people that come from different parts of the country on the coast or, south. A lot of them stick around. A lot of them get jobs here because it grows on them, because it's not what they expected. And all of a sudden they're like, cost of living, a lot of things work in my favor, but man, there is plenty to do.
People are nice.
Yeah, there's plenty to do. I can raise a family here, and it grows on them. So it is amazing the amount of people you see stick around when they probably first came here, like, I have 4 years and I'm out. I'm just here to do a job and only.
20 years later,
do some school, do some sport, and then I'm out. And like, wow, this is kind of cool.
Let me share this quick story. I think I can, because he just sent it to me, and he has a background in this. He has an Isaac Copeland story. This is actually Jacob Bigelow, who, he was involved in Nebraska basketball.
Hi, Jacob. Good morning.
He said when they picked up Isaac Copeland from Epley on his first visit to Nebraska, him and his mom asked Jacob about CHI. You pick somebody up at Epley.
Yeah.
If you're Creighton basketball, and by the way, on a day that they lost, they did get Trenton Flowers, as a 5-star who has Creighton in his Final Five. You pick somebody up from Epley. If you're Creighton, you can drive around the corner, and you can go, that's where we play.
Yeah.
I remember the whole thing when Omaha was at the Civic compared, why would you ever leave the Civic to go play at the, then what the Quest Center is? Well, we can't drive a recruit by that building and go, we don't play there, but we play, what the Civic looked like on the outside.
That's not your plane.
So he said, Isaac and his mom asked him about the CHI. And he said, that's where Creighton plays. And he said, Creighton is in Nebraska? Why the hell are they in the Big East? And then they had to explain to him that there are cornfields between Lincoln and Omaha. But once you get into Lincoln, you've got a city.
Yeah. How about that?
It's probably stuff that we've all grown up around here. We're just kind of used to it.
Yeah.
That people come from the outside when you're trying to recruit somebody. I'm sure it's, you're recruiting somebody in business to come relocate to Omaha.
Yeah.
You get the same questions.
100%.
But I thought we might be past that.
No, I don't know if we ever will. Not in our lifetime. I don't know.
All right. Well, maybe the kid has his priorities right. I mean, he wouldn't come in here for the nightlife then.
You win him over, though.
What was his name escapes me. Nebraska actually lost a kid. It's not Darnay Holmes, or maybe it is.
Wow, that was the name.
Because he ended up at UCLA, but he made a comment after his recruiting trip to Lincoln. Bo was the head coach. That Lincoln did not have enough stuff to do. There were not enough clubs. So you had an 18-year-old kid that was going, Lincoln doesn't have enough clubs. That was, I don't know, he talked to Schaefer, somebody, Nate Klaus, somebody like that. And he's like, there was just not a lot of entertainment. I'm like, okay, you're 18.
Yeah,
probably not for you.
Go have that.
No. All right. Next hour, we'll talk to Steve Sipple. We got to Ask Us Anything as well on Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, check out all the latest games, including the next Nebraska and Creighton game at the place to be, and that is DJ's Dugout. 7 metro area locations. Whether it is watching Creighton with a Blue Jay lemonade, having some Super Bowl nachos, or just enjoying an ice-cold, very tall, delicious beer. best place to watch anything, and I mean anything, is DJ's Dugout with their state-of-the-art, gorgeous media walls and some of the biggest TVs you've seen. And you can even do a little golf simulation at their downtown location on 10th and Capitol. DJ's Dugout, voted Omaha's #1 sports bar, and it's my favorite too. Whether it is watching the playoffs, the wild card games this weekend, or anything else. And I mean, again, anything else. If you don't see it when you get to DJ's, just ask them and they will find the game for you. It is a great place to gather with family and friends, locally in Vietnam, veteran-owned. Dig in at the Dugout.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley returns in minutes on 1620 The Zone. The best way to catch all the action is on 1620 The Zone. And no line for the bathroom. It's time to win Gary's Booty. Be caller 4 right now at 402-951-1620. That's caller 4 at 402-951-1620. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
If taking care of your parents' final affairs has taught you anything, it's that you don't want your kids to have to do it for you. Write this number down, 402-397-5880. That's the number to the law office of Christian R. Blanc. Chris Blanc can walk you through the creation of your own estate plans that include power of medical attorney, living will, joint living trust, and more. Your initial consultation is always free. Call the law office of Christian R. Blanc at 402-397-5880.
Football fans, call your own plays during the NFL playoffs with FanDuel. It is America's #1 sportsbook because when you bet NFL same-game parlays from now through January 16th, all customers can get up to $100 in free bets, win or lose. Nick, all you have to do is place a total of $20 or more on NFL same-game parlay or same-game parlay plus bets during the wild card round. And you know what? The more you bet, the more you'll get back in free bets.
Yeah, NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a larger payday. How about that big Monday night matchup between Dak and Tom Brady? Build your own or choose from one of our popular SGPs pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. New to FanDuel Sportsbook, you can also get up to $100 in free bets, win or lose when signing up with promo code ZONE. That's promo code ZONE. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Iowa. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max free bet $100. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbookfanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Life doesn't stop when cancer starts. After a diagnosis, treatment is vital. But for some, just getting there, to appointments, chemo, or radiation, is a major challenge. You can change that. Volunteer to give rides with the American Cancer Society Road to Recovery program. A few hours of your day could make a life-saving difference for someone with cancer. Visit cancer.org/drive to learn more. That's cancer.org/drive.
You can find pizza anywhere. But when you want pizza pie piled high with more toppings, that's when you come to my place, Godfather's Pizza. For a limited time, get your hands on 2 of my large one-topping pizzas. Pick pepperoni, beef, black olives, you choose. All this food for only $29. Feed your whole mob without breaking the bank. Hey, it's an offer you can't refuse. Godfather's Pizza. Do it.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
MD West One's team of neurosurgical spine specialists is the largest and most advanced in the greater Omaha metro. MD West One has been voted the #1 private practice and #1 in neurosurgery and spine by Best of Omaha year after year. They can help if you're suffering from recurring neck and back pain, weakness or numbness in your extremities, sciatica pain, or any other recurring issues stemming from your neck or back. Go to mdwest1.com to meet the spine team at MD West One.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free. at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Welcome to the After Hours Lounge on 1620 The Zone.
Can we not be naive and know that there is probably tampering?
Can we stop using that term? Guys are texting each other on a minute-by-minute basis. And you know what? There's nothing different about the starting inside linebacker at Nebraska and the biology major.
Catch After Hours 6 to 8, Monday through Friday, or as the sports schedule allows. Brought to you by Iowa Western Community College and Payne West on 1620 The Zone.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, just a reminder, over the air from 10 until about 5:30 today. Timing is everything. 1620 The Zone will be off the air for maintenance. Will that mean that the signal will be better?
Wouldn't take much.
You're not supposed to laugh.
I'm looking at the smirk on your face.
There's strategy as to why Gary wants the keg.
The 1620 The Zone TV, you could have saw Gary smirk.
Yes, and on the stream. But just be aware that from 10 to 5:30 today, right in the middle of your day, 1620 The Zone will not be on the air due to some maintenance, which will hopefully make the signal stronger for all of you that are with us from 6A to 6P.
Adjusting the hamsters that power the station.
There's a good company line there. So just a heads up, but we still will be available on TV and also on the stream to consume the content.
Consume it as you will.
Of the Connor Happer Show and Unsportsmanlike Conduct.
Take it down. It always goes down
plenty to talk about. Steve Sipple coming up in the next hour. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
Time-saving traffic center. We have a couple of accidents to report, starting with one on US 6 at Angus Road, so please be cautious if you are in that area. Then there's also another accident to report south along the North Freeway at Lake Street, so please be cautious if you are in that area as well. Then northbound along the JFK, be prepared for some significant slowdown from 25th and Q Street to Chandler Road. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
The Nebraska Lottery has raised over $908 million, which has helped to provide more than 117,000 college scholarships, save wildlife habitats across the state, and fund new facilities at the Nebraska State Fair. The Nebraska Lottery, helping to build a better Nebraska.
J-Tech Construction reminds you that this time of year, your home's energy efficiency is under tension. Don't let your windows cost you by raising your energy bills this winter. J-Tech Construction will come out, assess your current windows, and make recommendations on repairs or replacement at no charge. If it's time to replace, they have the custom-made, energy-efficient windows that keep the outside out with the professional installation you would expect. Contact the official exterior and solar experts of the Huskers. J-Tech Construction, your exteriorexperts.com.
Many people go back to the dealership out of habit or because they think the dealer is the only one who knows how to fix their car. At Omaha Car Care, we offer a better option. We have ASE certified technicians, the technology to service any vehicle, and free loaner cars. The dealer will sell you a package of services. We'll provide the service you want for your car as your trusted partner. I'm Rick Betker, owner of Omaha Car Care, and we'll be along for the ride.
I'll second guest dinners with friends because they can be interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit creoninfo.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREON info.com.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let the tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, they'll fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-567-2261. 800-567-2261. 800-567-2261.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Halftime brought to you by Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge just off 680 and 48th Street next to Cubby's. It's Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge.
There will be no week 0 game for Colorado.
Yeah.
Missed opportunity.
Blew the lid off that one. I'm blaming it on you.
Blame it on me. Blame it on Dion, who made Colorado in trouble. Dion was
Already?
tampering yesterday with a guy that's on the campus of Marshall. Interested if you want to come to Colorado.
You can name names.
Some player at Marshall. I thought you would be up on that. But no week 0. So that was the discussion on Monday with Arizona State, moving that game to week 0. The committee or whatever said, nope, not going to happen. It's too bad because here is the week 0 games this year. Hawaii at Vanderbilt. Then you have Idaho State is at San Diego State.
Oh, there's the game.
UMass at New Mexico State. You have UTEP at Jacksonville State. You have Florida International at Louisiana Tech. Louisiana Tech, by the way, when they come to Lincoln, September 23rd, that will be their 5th game of the season. So they play week 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we have a game in Dublin. between Navy and Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona State, Colorado would have been a really good week 0, but it is not going to happen as it was denied yesterday. As Dion was a little bit too loose with the lips before it was ruled on.
I'm shocked.
I think he's going to kind of do whatever he wants.
Oh, he will.
And then you just pick up the pieces afterwards.
It's the ask for forgiveness later. It's the ask for
Be a
forgiveness.
good 30 for 30.
No, the reason I said naming names as far as the tampering, because you saw the UTSA coach. He's on the verge of naming names, but then nobody wants to name names. Why don't they want to name names? Because maybe their backyard isn't all that tidy. Naming names, all it takes, one coach to name names, and then the floodgates will open. Nope.
So Dion will open up at TCU and then open up at home against Nebraska.
Saw Happer blame Herb Street for that. Come on. Herb Street doesn't deserve the blame on that. That was Dion who
Dion was
that out.
Package deal.
Dion was the first to say it.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he just so happened to be talking to Herb Street about it.
I'd like to be the compliance department at Colorado.
Looking for a new job.
There's a lot of bourbon.
You have a head coach who a little bit different, still getting up to speed on all the NCAA rules. This ain't Jackson State.
No.
Some things you can't say or do. But I don't. I don't believe that it's because he leaked it. But it's kind of interesting because it would be a good game that if you were pushing for it, you would push a little bit harder. But Louisiana Tech, they're going to play. That'll be game 5 when they roll in here. Now it'll be 4th game of the year.
Hopefully they get a bye after
Nebraska. Steve Sipple's going to join us bottom of the hour. Somebody in this offseason, which now that we're fully into the offseason, we're 226 days, by the way, from week 0, is a lot of discussion about the Big Ten, what Nebraska's doing. Nebraska's added 32 scholarship players under Matt Rule. He's becoming the Bill Callahan. I don't think Frost ever got close to 32 scholarship players. And last year was a big shift.
Yeah.
Especially in the portal, where they had 15, 16 players out of the portal last year. And Rouse was number 9 yesterday under Rule. So you're watching all the movement at Wisconsin, whoever Minnesota's hiring on their staff, whatever's going on at Iowa, Purdue and Illinois, and whatever they're doing. Then there's the one team that nobody's talking about unless it's negative, and that's Northwestern, who there is an investigation on a hazing incident at the end of their past year. That's what one win will do to you. But has a person's stock in the college football world gone quiet quicker than Pat Fitzgerald's? So they have had 2 straight miserable seasons on the field. And Pat Fitzgerald went from, here's this guy who had made a couple of appearances in the Big Ten championship game, to all of a sudden back-to-back rough years. He's made changes on his staff again. He just hired the North Dakota State defensive coordinator to come be his defensive coordinator. Man, the Pat Fitzgerald stock entering 2023 compared to when you entered 2021 off the COVID year and off of going to the Big Ten championship, wow, talk about a huge gap.
I would compare it, and the programs are not comparable as far as the resources, the money they put in. Well, shouldn't say that, but the money that they're putting in. Jimbo Fisher. That would be where I compare it to. And the shortcomings on the field are obviously not comparable too. We're not talking about a 1-11 Texas A&M either, but that'd be the only thing I can come close to comparing it to. And it's interesting because, I didn't realize, I knew Northwestern had some lean years, but that was the worst since what, 2000 no, I'm sorry. That was the worst since 1991, maybe 2. You got to go a long ways back in a program that has had some lean years of what that one rivals. And I look at the Fitzgerald narrative right now. I still, for the record, think Fitz is a very good coach. And I think a lot of teams would be still somewhat happy to have him. It's that bounce back year of just when you're ready to count them out, then they have a bounce back. Okay, they win 3 games in 2021. All right, we're ready. Even though you could look at that roster like, I don't know how the hell they get bowl eligible. It's just what Fitz does. And that was always sort of built in. It was kind of that blind faith in what Fitz has done. And to his credit, he's deserved that reputation. But now you have a 3-win season followed up with a 1-win season. There's a constant turnover with the coaching staff. And then now you're looking at a potential hazing scandal. Not sure exactly what it was. Very, very limited details on that. It's being investigated by a law firm. Northwestern is saying they're fully going to comply. Obviously, they would. So you get that on top of an offseason where I don't think anybody's looking at Northwestern this early in the game saying, yeah, they're poised for a bounce back in 2023. Yeah, I think it's fair that, again, other than maybe Jimbo Fisher for different reasons, I can't think of a coach that stock has probably fallen further.
I mean, 4-20 last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So 3 of the last 4 years, they haven't gone to a bowl game. And when they've been good, they have been good. They've been one of the best teams in the West Division.
Yep.
But his stock is just, man, in a weird program, which is undertaking, I don't know, would you consider it a commitment to football, what they're going to do with their stadium? I mean, they have fantastic facilities. What they've done to their basketball arena is great, is ideal for Northwestern. And their football facility is amongst the best in the entire Big Ten. And now what they want to do with their football stadium, to shrink it and modernize it. But man, Pat Fitzgerald, I think he would have been an ideal candidate for Nebraska. Perfect candidate for Nebraska. And the bottom is starting to fall out at Northwestern. I'm trying to figure out this past year, what win I can't wrap my arms around more of how it happened. Is it Indianapolis beating Kansas City or Northwestern beating Nebraska?
At the time, I don't know what your thought was, but at the time when they beat Nebraska, I'm thinking, a bounce back here for Fitz. Nebraska was the first victim. But then to watch that team, I mean, Ryan Helinski looked like a surgeon in that game. But then to watch game after game after game afterwards, like, yeah, I'm with you. How the hell did that happen?
Northwestern never won a game in the States.
But looked, I know, it looked awful in certain games against teams that were really bad. This is interesting with where Northwestern is right now. You bring up the football renovation, the field renovation. There's a commitment going into it. But think about the teams that you feel are positioned well when divisions drop in the Big Ten, teams that could really find a tough time getting out of the bottom. I think of Northwestern, man. All the proud alum, all the very highly regarded alum. And look, anytime Northwestern kind of rises above the expectations, it's always a sense of pride. I just feel like that's going to be an avalanche for Northwestern.
Northwestern and Indiana are in trouble.
Yeah.
When the Big Ten expands, those two schools right now are in the bottom of the Big Ten, and they went essentially status quo into another year.
Yeah.
And Pat Fitzgerald, Adam brings up a great point. There's similarities of where they coach and the kind of person that they are, highly thought of on and off the football field, in the industry, outside of the industry, and what they mean to their respective schools. There's a lot of Pat Fitzgerald and David Shaw.
Yeah.
David
I think
Shaw.
it's a good comparison.
David Shaw finally had been like, you know what? I've hit the wall. I got to move on. Interesting. He interviewed with the Denver Broncos. The ownership has a connection to Stanford. It's Pat Fitzgerald. Because I go back and I watched like the David Shaw post-game press conference where he announced that was it. And people kind of, I guess, around the program had a sense that this was coming. But you watch him and you see like a defeated man who's a very proud man who had very good success, albeit a majority with Harbaugh's recruits, who was just, I can't do anymore. And he looked like out of answers. Like Pat Fitzgerald is one of the most optimistic people that you'll ever come across.
Right.
I mean, are we going to get to a point if Northwestern has another rough season that we start to see the same things we saw like David Shaw post-game where he didn't have answers and you just looked like a guy that was defeated? Are we going to start to see that in 23 with Pat Fitzgerald? Now, one more thing on the David Shaw interviewing with the Broncos. Could it be a Jim Harbaugh, David Shaw combo in Denver? I mean, they work great together at Stanford.
Yep.
They would ride.
Instead of David Shaw being, head coach, an assistant coordinator with Jim Harbaugh, could you do it as a package deal? Good. I've always thought that David Shaw would be really good in the NFL. I always thought when a Raider job would open up, before Gruden got that job, I thought David Shaw would be perfect there. But he never wanted to leave Stanford. He had a good gig at Stanford. Wasn't ready to make the jump, even though he'd go on the NFL Network on the draft, and you'd be this
really
guy.
good.
This guy knows everything.
Yeah.
Could he be in the NFL here, but with Jim Harbaugh? That's a good point by Adam. There could be a lot of similarities between where they coach, some of the challenges they have, and where they've had good success, and then all of a sudden can't find it again, and you've run out of answers, and then it's time to move on. And David Shaw, I think still should coach football somewhere.
Yeah,
I'm not telling him what to do. I mean, if he's not, you got to get him on TV. I think he is great in front of a camera. He knows what he's talking about. He delivers it to the layman on when football is. But if he wants to coach again, him and Harbaugh together in Denver would be an interesting combo. Well, because they were really good at Stanford together.
I like how you brought up Fitz being a good fit for Nebraska. I thought when they were doing Flight Tracker in 2014 in San Francisco, I still to this day would say I thought there was a conversation with David Shaw, and that excited me at the time in 2014. But is there a team in the West Division that benefited more from the division itself, the Northwestern? Because I think everyone else, I mean, even to a sense, Illinois, they're trying to position themselves for the future of the Big Ten. And I think there are capabilities of doing so. I just don't think Northwestern is capable. Maybe I'm selling them short because they do put money into they put money into facilities. There are resources there, but they are one of those programs, like you said, Indiana too, where I just don't see them being able to kind of get themselves out of the cellar. Once you get the divisions gone, you've got UCLA and USC coming in, and that I think in lies the big question about Pat Fitzgerald's future. What will that look like? Because it's one thing to prove us wrong in the West when you're not dealing with Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State. It's another thing to prove yourself in the Big Ten with everyone there where you have no benefit whatsoever of, hey, we just got to be the best in our division. I don't think there's one team in the Big Ten West that benefited more from the Big Ten West Northwestern.
I think you look throughout the Big Ten, now that we've entered the offseason, and since the offseason's really begun in December, you could make a case, especially in the West Division, there are 6 programs that feel very good about where they're going. Even Purdue, which loses, the starting quarterback and some talent, they hired a new young coach.
Potential
that they're
rock
excited
star.
about.
Yeah.
Northwestern is the only school in the West where you can't make a case that the arrow is trending upward in the offseason, where you could make a case with all the other 6 teams. You could find something that you go, yeah, they're headed in the right direction.
Yep.
I mean, Northwestern seems to be trending towards going back to the days pre-Gary Barnett, which is kind of just hard to believe.
And I don't think Fitz would hang on for that.
No, he loves Northwestern too much.
But they're in for a challenge. I don't see them. I see them having another poor year in 2023.
I do too.
Which puts them even further behind the rest of the Big Ten. All right, Steve Sipple is going to join us before the hour's over. Next hour, John Fanta, Adam Teicher, and Brian Edwards on 1620 The Zone.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10. On 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. The Connor Happer Show.
There's no one in the history of sport who loves to hit you with a video of himself chopping wood at 4:30 in the morning more than Justin James Watt. And he wants you to know about it because you're lazy and he's the hardest worker in the room. I say, if we're going to be okay with putting mediocre players in the Hall of Fame, then sure, what better place to start than J.J. Watt? Wow.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A cold and blustery day ahead Thursday. Expect clouds in the morning with some afternoon sunshine. North winds will be gusting 30 to 35 miles per hour. Temperatures will hang in the mid-20s most of the day, though feeling like the teens. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley, brought to you by MD West 1 Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine on 1620 The Zone.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
Time-saving traffic center. We have an update for the accident on US 6 between Angus Road and West Grunther Road, where that is now closed due to the accident earlier, and you can expect delays up to 5 minutes in that area. And then in an update on an accident that has the shoulder blocked on the southbound North Freeway at Lake Street, that's going to be backed up all the way to the Stores Expressway, and you can expect delays of up to 5 minutes in that area as well. And then on Dodge, there's an accident that has 3 right lanes blocked, and that's going to be at 108th Avenue, backed up all the way to I-680, where you can expect some stopped traffic. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. This time-saving traffic was brought to you by Fernando's.
Thank you, Omaha. It's triple first-place wins for Fernando's. Fernando's is honored and grateful to you for voting them the best Mexican restaurant in the Best of Omaha and Omaha Choice Awards and Best Margarita in the Omaha Choice Awards. Fernando's, family-owned and community served.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call in the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Duck Defense Midwest makes your home healthier and improves the life of your HVAC system. So improve the health of your home and everyone in it. Go to cleanairradio.com for a special duct cleaning offer for Zone listeners. That's cleanairradio.com.
Winning comes without a guarantee. Focus, discipline, and extraordinary effort make winning more likely. Sometimes our greatest wins come from major setbacks. Coming back from a serious injury is a win that requires teamwork. At Berry Law, we're in it to win it.
If you have been seriously injured in an accident, call Berry Law today. 402-999-7777.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
When you're rolling Charmin, up your soft on the party. This is most so roll it back, everybody. Charmin's irresistible, soft and hella nice. My crib is always soft, it's our party vibe. Everybody wanna touch the sky.
Charmin Ultra Soft is irresistibly soft and more absorbent, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Give your business a whole host of options with Host Coffee. The most impressive selection of office coffee, water options, healthy food options, and vending technologies. Host Coffee, serving you since 72. Be a part of the Host Coffee team today. If you'd like to work for a trusted and loyal family-owned company that understands the needs of working families, Host Coffee has your opportunity. Apply at hostcoffee.net.
Make the right call, fans. The Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
Rooferees. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Thursday mornings, it's time for the man, the myth, the legend from 93.7 The Ticket, on3.com. Stephen M. Sipple. Hi, Sip. It's been a while.
Yes, Gary. You were gone last week, right?
Yeah, and you did this for a couple of weeks, then you got sick. So you and I, we're reunited. We'll catch up on a lot of things that have happened between now and back on December 5th. You ready?
Yeah. So you guys got a lot to talk about on your show.
Yes, we do. People want us to ask you, how is Nebraska going to get to 85 scholarship guys, Sip?
Yeah, God, that conversation is ridiculous. I don't know. I just don't know why you worry about it. I mean, especially now, you can just take a guy and paying some name, image, and likeness money and scholarship.
Hey, why? And I'm doing a little bit tongue in cheek because I know how you feel about this conversation, but they did add a scholarship. So Rule has added 32 scholarship players since he took over. I mean, that's we don't normally get that around here. You remember, I'm pretty sure Callahan was in that similar range when he took over, just by him, and he was able to sign a huge recruiting class well before the portal area. But the latest one was last night. Why do you think at the end of the day you have Iowa, which Iowa offensive linemen have done pretty well in the NFL, making some money. They're known as for their offensive line play. Oklahoma, of course, has sent guys to the NFL, but he chooses Nebraska. Why, at the end of the day, do you think that Walter Rouse said Nebraska is the best place for me to finish my career?
I think Nebraska's package, and I'm not. This isn't all speculation because I've read all of Walter Rouse's comments. I think the entire package was alluring to him. Everything from the what he perceives as the ability of Matt Rule and Donovan Raiola to get him to the next level, which he wants to do. That he has designs on being an NFL tackle, as he should. I mean, it's always sort of interesting to listen to some of these guys talk about how surprised they are when they get to Lincoln and see, urban nature of it. What did he say?
Yes.
8 hotels, 4-block radius or something like that. And when you get down, I mean, and Matt Rule says, coaches have said that for years. If you can just get kids here, they see that it's not just a rural cornfield place, and you know what? That's what Rouse said. Now here's the other thing, and I know I do this a lot, but you really can't overstate the importance of NIL.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way in hell Rouse is here or Kemp is here, or maybe any of those guys, any of the 9 transfers are here without a strong NIL operation. There's no way, no chance. And that play. I mean, Rouse talked to our Brian Munson of Husker Online and mentioned that he said the NIL opportunities at Nebraska are endless. So yeah, there you go. It's the package. I think it's pretty good at Nebraska.
Yeah, and Sip, I know we talked a lot about the importance of the initiative there, the 1890 initiative. And, when it does come from just an on-field potential here, and I say potential because he's got to work through an injury. We never know how this is going to kind of turn out. I'm looking at how this sort of maybe rearranges the offensive line for Nebraska with the guys that we already know are going to be there. And that's not including Ben Scott. We know that obviously be a fill-in for Hickson. But as far as even like a guy like Turner Corcoran, and if Prohaska's healthy, how does just having a guy with the experience there, whether he's playing left or right tackle, how does that kind of impact the guys that you still think are going to have a big part of this offensive line?
Yeah, Nick. Yeah, it's a monumental impact. And I don't know exactly what it'll look like. It sounds like they've told Walter Rouse that, he's got a great chance to be the starting left tackle. Now, what does Teddy say about that? And you want that competition. And I do think it's worth talking about this idea of handing jobs to people. I mean, that's not ideal. Like when Mel Tucker added all those transfers before the 2021 season and won 11 games. I was doing a lot of reading on how he made that work. And a lot of the narrative was, well, one of the reasons he was able to make it work was he didn't promise those guys anything. Those guys that came in out of the portal. It can mess your locker room up a little bit if those returners feel like, okay, so they're just bringing in guys and handing them jobs. I don't think Rule is cut out that way. But I know I didn't answer your question. I will say it. Ben Scott and Walter Rouse have great opportunities here to start.
Yeah.
But you can't handle it. And Teddy Prohaska surely looks at it and says, okay, everybody's talking about this guy taking my job. We'll see. That's what I hope Teddy's saying. We'll see. I know what I'm doing. And I know, Dave Remington I was talking to the other day. Dave Remington, the 2-time Outland winner. I've talked to Dominic Raiola about both those guys feel like Teddy's going to be a first rounder. If he gets all he can out of himself, he'll be a first-round pick. I don't think anybody's saying that about Walter Rouse. So hopefully Teddy digs in and says, no. I'm the left tackle in Nebraska. Maybe you can play right tackle.
Yeah. And it all comes down to Teddy staying healthy because we haven't.
A lot of it, yeah.
Yeah, and we still have not. I mean, I think the ceiling is still pretty high for Teddy. We just haven't seen it. He's got to stay healthy. I said to Nick earlier, man, it almost might be a huge, more beneficial. And they're both, if you have those are your bookend tackles, it's great to have both those guys start 12-plus games. But if you could get Teddy Prohaska to start 12 games for you in the 23 season, man, I'd take that over Walter Rouse starting 12 games.
Yeah, I would. I think I would. I think that ideally, I mean, this is why I guess my ideal situation is both start, one at one side, one the other. I don't know. I don't know how that. They're different. Left tackle and right tackle are different. And whether Teddy or Rouse can make that transition, I don't know. I think that's a viable conversation. I don't know how it's all going to shake out. It's big, but it's very helpful because you've added two guys that at the very least are going to compete for starting jobs, Ben Scott and Rouse. So it helps everybody. It just helps the whole room.
Sip, this might be kind of a weird question, but given the production that Trey Palmer had a year ago, and now kind of looking at the situation that Nebraska has at the offensive line, if both Ben Scott and Walter Rouse are able to give you, an upgrade, it doesn't even have to be a significant upgrade, but an upgrade at the offensive line, is it crazy to think that those two additions for a group of need could be even more important than what Trey Palmer brought to the offense a year ago?
Oh, no. It's different because you can point to raw numbers with Palmer. It's harder to do that with the offensive line. They get grades by Pro Football Focus and all that. But, you can point to Trey Palmer. How many catches? He had 71 catches last year, something like that.
Yeah.
You can point to those raw numbers. So it's a little different. But no, I think if those guys are both starters, yeah, you could argue that they're more impactful than Trey, especially if Nebraska is able to win 6 or 7 or 8 games. Then, if you just look at the win column at the end of it and see more wins and see an offense that's more productive, you certainly could say that.
Steve Sipple joining us here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Hey, later today, we're all going to get to hear from Evan Cooper and E.J. Barthel, who I think are two very intriguing, promising guys. I'm enamored with Evan Cooper. I think he's got a bright future in the college game if you just go off his recruiting and what people have said about him. But now that this staff is complete, take out the lone holdover in Donovan. Which coach intrigues you the most that has been added to Rule's staff, and why?
Satterfield, because of what he said last week and what his sort of talking about how he's not big on the way college football has evolved in terms of how the quarterback used, they clap for the ball, they use cue cards, they don't huddle. It was sort of interesting to me, and him saying that he wants to huddle. They got to run the ball. He comes off very old school and unapologetic, and almost would rub some people the wrong way with what he said, if you really think about it. But again, unapologetic, which is good. So Satterfield's the one that I'm really interested in now, because of that sort of demeanor, style. Will he follow through with what he's saying? Also, what I've heard about him is always interesting to me, and what I've heard from other coaches is he can be kind of caustic, which I don't think is a bad thing. He's definitely Satterfield.
We know today that you're going to hear from E.J. Barthel and Evan Cooper. When you kind of think about some of the things that are going to be presented to both of these coaches, Especially EJ Barthol, from where he comes from, the room that he inherits and what they continue to do at the position. What are some of the things you kind of want to learn from him if you haven't already kind of, at this point?
Well, is Barthol going to coach the fullback? Yeah, I kind of wonder about that. I want to kind of gauge his level of confidence in that room. I mean, Nick, you alluded to it. That room, man. I mean, it is. I really like it. I mean, I think most people do at this point. With Anthony Grant returning, I think you have a potential star in A.J. Allen. You still have Gabe Irvin, who's a very hungry running back. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Probably the fastest one, and I'm including Ramir Johnson in that. Irvin's speed is, I mean, he's got big-time speed. Ramir's still part of the picture. We still don't know what Emmett Johnson can bring, but I love him. I love Emmett Johnson's high school tape. We don't have to talk about him at all because he didn't play last year. But now you throw him into it. Barthol's walked into, I don't want to say a gold mine because it's, he's walking into a 4-8 program, yeah. But that position group is, you would look at it and say it's probably the most exciting position group. Quarterback is right there too, but I'd say running back is a notch above any of the position groups.
And they come back to campus, so they have their first team meeting on Sunday. Sticking with running backs, because if he's still on the roster, and again, I don't have any inside information, and I believe that he will be here. A.J. Allen is one of the biggest acquisitions for the 23 team, keeping him in the fold. Yeah. What's your confidence level that he is going to be with Nebraska?
Well, it goes back to, come on. I mean, this goes back to the 1890 initiative. The 1890 initiative and Matt Rule, I have confidence, will keep him here.
Okay.
They'll do what they have to do. Come on. I mean, we got.
Oh, I would pay the most money to keep him here. He's the guy that you have to have.
I think we have to continue to have these conversations because I don't think a lot of fans fully understand how important. And I'm just going to say the 1890 initiative because that's they're the only one that's involved right now. Mm-hmm. That's it. They're handling name, image, and likeness for all of the football players, all of the volleyball players, and they're branching out. But in terms of A.J. Allen and my confidence in keeping him, it's all about the 1890 initiative. That's what it's about. But also, I guess that's not all. The coaches have they have an influence on that conversation too. But I don't think he's going to be gone. I think they've locked him up.
Yeah, he's one guy that, as I've said, I think he's the most important retainee of people that want to stay here, or at least, can't go to the NFL, for example. But I probably won't until I physically see him. Like, there's pictures of him, like, being on campus, being back in school.
In the directory.
Brian Applewhite has another job, and A.J. Allen's still in Nebraska. I'm still going to wonder. But I agree with you. I think they pull out all the stops to keep him. And I hope you're right about the 1890 is able to keep some guys happy.
Oh, they will. They've already done it. I mean, they've locked in deals for a number of those very important players that Nebraska had to have back. I'm thinking about Reimer. I'm thinking about Henrich. I'm thinking about
Marcus Washington,
Jamari Butler, the edge rusher. Those guys are here in part because 1890 ensured they would be here. I mean, not all those guys that I mentioned. It wasn't a lock that a lot of these guys are coming back. A.J. Allen among them, but when you have thank the Pete's. Thank the 1890 initiative. They'll ensure that those players are taken care of.
Great stuff, Sip, as always. Appreciate it. Good to hear you back. Everything else is good?
Pretty good right now. I'm taking an hour at a time, Gary.
As you should be. As you should be. All right, you got any thoughts on Jeff Beck?
Jeff Beck, the
guitarist that passed away?
No, not really.
Right.
Always been sort of underwhelmed by him. Like, I don't always understand the hype on Beck. there's a lot of musicians, guitars that I would put ahead of him. I'd put Jimi Hendrix in another world than him.
I would, and I would put Eddie Van Halen as well.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Good
Yes.
one. That's
Yes.
a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Sip, be good. Good talking to you.
All right, take care.
That's Stephen M. Sip. The team reconvenes on Sunday, and that'll also be what, Monday? Is it Monday that the portal closes until May?
Is it Monday or is it the 20th? Monday would make sense, but first,
Guys can wait and go through spring football and decide what they're going to do. Now, guys could not get in the portal and just not play football anymore. That could also happen.
Yeah.
We are currently 9 over. That will change quickly, I imagine. They don't worry. They will be good to go when they go to Minnesota on August 31st. I'm pretty confident in that they will find a way to be with all in the legalese of taking care of.
It's always a fun question, though.
All right, 8:50 in the next hour. We'll do some college basketball. John Fanta will stop by from Fox Sports. Adam Teicher on the NFL, and we'll ask him, bombard him with chief questions. Maybe the question of one of the games, which will be the highest rated game on TV for the Super Wildcard weekend, will be Monday night between Dallas and Tampa Bay. Watch the little vignette, Jimmy, on your team, the 30th anniversary of the 92 team.
Yeah, and
that was such a good Cowboy team.
Monday night will be the 30th anniversary of the last time the Cowboys won a road playoff game, 92 NFC championship games.
Wow. They're like the Lakers. People talk about the Cowboys win or lose, but it's almost a better story if the Cowboys lose on Monday night. Sorry, all you Cowboy fans out there.
I expect it.
It's the better. It's the better story nationally if the Cowboys lose.
Well, yeah, because then you want to know what Jerry's going to do. Mike McCarthy. It's the same thing with Rodgers. It's off-season drama.
It's good business.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, you have to shift that. Like I used to think early in his NBA career, and again, he's still young. The better story or the more story that got attention is when Zion wasn't playing.
Yeah,
like he was going to be out, and then all of a sudden he has blown up, and unfortunately, he's back on the shelf. But like the Cowboys, it's a better story if they lose.
It would be more
Like
fun to talk about the next day.
Winning doesn't give me 4 hours of Cowboy talk.
No.
Losing,
oh yeah,
I'll go 6.
And if they win Monday, it's like, hey, they won. All right, who are they losing to the following weekend? Because it's going to happen.
Never have beaten TB12. 0-7.
Their last chance. By the way, congratulations to Kathleen for winning the booty. So it is still
the booty.
$100.
Our
Didn't want that to go away.
First female?
First female to get the booty.
All right.
So far.
She was ready, too. I mean, fired it right away.
There
60.
will be more. Do you have a stat?
I do
for
have a
this
stat.
hour?
Yeah, you want to know? Let's do it. So, looking at the quarterbacks in the playoffs, as we always have the Kirk Cousins debate, and I don't even know if it's a debate, but there's always numbers that seem to kind of stand out about Kirk Cousins. Of mediocre, making a lot of money, serviceable, or is he on the cusp of being one of the better ones in the NFL right now? It just kind of depends on your view. But here's a stat for you, and you need to know the number 23. 23 is your stat because that is where Kirk Cousins ranks currently in the NFL with QBR at 49.8, 23rd in the league with a 49.8 QBR. So another number 23.
Right. Remember that number? We'll ask for it next hour on Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Hey, ring in the new year with Woodhouse Mazda. It is a great time to get yourself into one of the many Mazda SUVs, whether we're talking the Mazda CX-30, the CX-50, or the CX-9. The great thing is they're just fun to drive. Trust me, I've had a chance to test drive almost every one of them. And when I say fun to drive, you got the state-of-the-art infotainment system and all other available features that make it easy to sit back and just enjoy every minute of your adventure. Also important to me, and I'm sure you as well, safety features, which each Mazda comes equipped with, including standard all-wheel drive, which is obviously great during the winter. Each Mazda SUV has plenty to offer you and your family. As always, enjoy a streamlined sales process to save you time. You can visit Woodhouse Mazda in Bellevue off of Kennedy Freeway and Chandler Road, or in Millard at 144th in Giles. You can shop, inventory, finance, and even buy online at WoodhouseMazda.com or WoodhousePlaceMazda.com. Chat with a sales team member online. Make it convenient for yourself and schedule a test drive today. Woodhouse Mazda, a drive worth experiencing.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. Big names, big games. We've got them all. 1620 The Zone.
If you think you're having transmission problems, you need a specialist, someone who can and will tell you exactly what's wrong. At Omaha Transmission, that's what we do. Some places just want to sell you a new transmission, but at Omaha Transmission, we make repairs that other shops can't or won't. Giving you options is what's kept us in business since 2005. We've even had people hear our ads, bring in their car, and experience the exact same scenario they heard. There is a place that will diagnose and fix your transmission. That place is Omaha Transmission.
Omaha Transmission, shifting to running smooth.
Wild Card Weekend is here, and the easiest way to get into the playoffs is with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. And Josh, we got a couple of games that have a line of 3. Believe it or not, Tom Brady is a 3-point dog at home to your Cowboys. But I'm looking at the other game this week. The Giants are getting 3 points against the Vikings. And right now, new customers can get $150 in free bets guaranteed when they use our promo code 1620.
John, the game that I will be looking at this weekend, well, of course, will be the Cowboys game, but I like the Bills. 10-point favorites at home versus the Dolphins. We saw this one in December. I like Bills to win again big. And if you put in our promo code 1620, your first $5 bet gets you $150 in free bets, win or lose. That's the FanDuel Sportsbook promo code 1620. 21 plus and present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit is required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions do apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Do something fun with the family. Come downtown and go to the auto show January 20th through the 22nd at the CHI Health Center. Get inside the newest cars, trucks, and SUVs and see some of the hottest electric cars like the Hyundai Ioniq 5. Race a NASCAR remote control car. See beautiful classic cars and visit the Subaru Pet Adoption. Free admission for veterans on Friday. Get out and go to the auto show January 20th through the 22nd. Find more at OmahaAutoShow.com.
Oh, won't you stick with me, baby? I'm going to make a lot of bread. I mean both money and actual bread. But right now I need dough, cause my delivery truck's dead. And by dough, I mean money. Trucks don't run on bread.
Owning a small business isn't always as lovely as it sounds, but with personalized discounts that save you money, Progressive Commercial keeps you humming along. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com.
I need more dough. Need with an N. I need more dough. Need with a K.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Coverage and discounts not available for all vehicles or states. Policy terms and conditions apply.
Meet Joe A,
Hi.
Joe B,
Hello.
and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect, support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
If you want to save money and start the year right, Staples has you covered.
I need everything to restock my business. File folders, break room supplies, even business cards.
Staples has you covered with big savings on everything you need for your home or office. And now at Staples, rewards members get $30 back via Staples store bonus when they spend $100. That's $30 to use toward everything from ink to tech. Save big right now at Staples, the working and learning store. Rewards members only. Store bonus redeemable in-store only. Offer ends 1/21.
Thank you to everyone who voted for MD West One in the Best of Omaha contest. We are thrilled to announce MD West One has been named the #1 private medical practice in Omaha for 4 years in a row. MD West One is also named first place in the orthopedic surgery and neurosurgical spine surgery. Our 34 board certified surgeons specialize in treating every bone, joint, or muscle condition from head to toe. Go to MDWest1.com to meet the #1 place to go for orthopedic, neurosurgery, and spine.
Listen to Woodhouse Auto Family Blue Jay Overtime, the Creighton men's basketball postgame show on 1620 The Zone. Live from DJ's Dugout downtown. It's right after every home game, presented by Barry Law. Exclusively on your home for the Creighton Blue Jays. 1620 The Zone.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
2023 debut to talk hoops, Browns, what the wedding planning is like for Mr. Fanta. That's all to come next on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
Time-saving traffic center. We're still getting reports of US 6 between Angus Road and Northeast 370 is closed due to an accident earlier, and you can still expect delays of up to 5 minutes in that area. And we're also still getting reports of the accident that has the right lane blocked westbound on Dodge near 108th Avenue. That's going to be backed up all the way to I-680, and you can expect some stop traffic in that area. Then along eastbound I-680, be prepared for some significant slowdowns from the ramp to I-80 North and West and near Pacific Street. As always, remember to stay safe and wear your seatbelts. I'm Chris Scott. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
What does Saul's loan on? Almost everything, like jewelry, gold chains, bracelets, earrings, wedding rings, and high-end watches, guns, electronics, $10 to $50,000, super fast and easy with no credit check. Saul's loans on almost everything.
Email any of our shows anytime into the Equitable Bank inbox. At Equitable, we take banking personally. For me, John at 1620thezone.com. The Equitable Bank inbox from 1620 The Zone.
Creighton Sports Update.
Creighton men's basketball is back at CHI Health Center on Saturday as they host the Providence Friars. Tip-off is set for 1 p.m. Limited tickets are available online at gocreighton.com/tickets. That's Creighton versus Providence on Saturday at 1 p.m. And that's your Creighton Sports Update.
1620 The Zone proudly supports Creighton Athletics.
In support of the Creighton versus Cancer Pinkout game, 1620 The Zone will be on location Friday, January 27th from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the American Cancer Society's Hope Lodge, Nebraska. Stop by and drop off a donation of paper products, gift cards, or cash to support cancer patients staying at the Hope Lodge, a free home away from home for cancer patients and caregivers who must travel to Omaha for their life-saving treatment. For details, listen to 1620 The Zone and visit cancer.org/pinkout.
Guys, let's face it, there is a time when you just need to get out of the house, to have your own place, to be with the guys, or just a quiet, relaxing place for yourself. Well, Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge hears you loud and clear. Settle in. Escape to Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge for an incredible selection plus premium cocktails, a knowledgeable, friendly staff, state-of-the-art humidor, and incredible lounge. Hearth Cigars and Pipes Lounge, just off I-680 at 48th Street next to Covey's.
For unmatched cardiac expertise, put your heart in the right place with Nebraska Medicine, where you'll find the most heart advances in the state, telehealth appointments to make your care even more convenient, and a genetics clinic to help avoid future heart issues. With multiple locations, our world-leading care is just a heartbeat from home. For matters of the heart, this is where you begin. Visit nebraskamed.com/heart.
Home is with you wherever that may be.
McCarthy's 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning has always put service first. It's been that way for a half century. Recently, that commitment to service was recognized when General Manager Scott Woods was placed on the HVAC industry's 40 under 40 list. If your home comfort system needs repair or replacement, McCarthy's 1 Hour is dedicated to doing the job right the first time and on time. Because McCarthy's literally built their business on the promise, always on time or you don't pay a dime. McCarthy's 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning, McCarthy's1hour.com.
Shop Woodhouse Place Hyundai and Nissan, 144th and Giles. KOZN, Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. And we're back. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
All right, buckle up, Nick. If you've never talked to our next guest, we are ready to go on a ride of a lifetime. The man, the myth, the legend. Engaged. Congratulations, by the way, to John and Vicky. I'll be waiting for my invitation. It is John Fanta. Happy New Year, my friend.
Gary, it's great to be with you. You're actually going to be a speaker. You're part of the ceremony.
Yes. Well, you're getting married also when Nebraska's not playing a football game, so it works out well.
Oh, it was all intentional.
Hey,
That was by design.
Hey, well, first of all, congratulations. I know we haven't talked on air since then, but you guys are fantastic together, and I'm so happy for you and for Vicky.
Thank you. I'm a lucky man, very lucky, and she's unbelievable. And it's, as you know, in our industry, in our style of life and everything that we do, you need a great support system, and you need that better half. And she has been that to me. That is absolutely for sure. So understanding, especially this time of year, which is nonstop. We're on that road to March now, and she's been great.
You are everywhere on Fox. The Field of 68 is a fantastic group of very talented people. It is a nightly watch, and especially last night. So around here, Xavier's having a great year. Sean Miller's been a great addition, and that was one of the better games that we're going to see in the Big East. 90-87, Xavier beats Creighton. Before I get your thoughts on that, I will say that you gained a lot of fans. Everybody knows your fandom for the Browns. I'm glad that you called out Sean Miller last night, who is a Steelers fan but happens to work in Cincinnati. Good on you for sticking up for the Browns.
Well, here's the thing. There's two sides of that. I'm not sure if I have much of a leg to stand on to stick up for the Browns, although I always will do that. I had a problem as an AFC North fan at someone transitioning from his bandwagon to another AFC North team bandwagon because now he works in Cincinnati and he wanted to build some goodwill. So when now look, I know what Sean was trying to do after the fact. I wasn't even thinking about it that way, that he was just trying to make some friends in Cincinnati and make sure that all those Xavier fans knew that, but no, I'm not letting it fly. You can't just be a Steeler fan that now is rooting for the. You think I'm a Browns fan? You think I'm rooting for the Bengals in the playoffs? Absolutely not. Bengals, Ravens. I want to see those guys just get into a war all night on Sunday night. So I could not stand for that. You cannot hop from one bandwagon to the other. He tried to pull a Homer Simpson on the air.
And well played. You called him on it. I'd like your call on this. So we wake up around here. It's January 12th. It's still early in the Big East season, but Creighton is 9-8, 3-3. Back-to-back losses, not bad losses. Not a lot of people are going into stores or to Cincinnati to win games, but you've seen this team play. You know the backstory. You know what it was like coming into the season. What's your thoughts on Creighton right now?
Well, I think that they are a group that shows glimpses of what we thought that they could be in the preseason. But they're also a group that goes through some moments, some possessions where individual players are trying to make things happen as opposed to playing the team style that Greg McDermott wants. Last night, it happened again. Just some shot selections. Look, when you're playing a team as good as Xavier, who's ranked 12th in the country, I think they're playing as well as basically anybody right now. They've won 10 in a row. When you're playing a team that's that strong, Gary, you've got to be able to be conscious of situations. And I thought that last night, Creighton played an A-level game for a good portion of the game. I thought Creighton played really well. And I thought that they came out with a purpose. Taylor Shireman perhaps played his best game as a Blue Jay. 25 points, 4 threes. He just had it. He was on. And they had balance. I mean, Ryan Nemhart played a terrific, really a really good game with 7 assists. So they had it going. But again, when you're in a game against a team that good, you've got to be able to have great attention to detail. And we've become so used to seeing Greg McDermott teams have terrific attention to detail, awareness, understanding of the situation. And I do think there were some lost possessions in that game. And
this is a game last night where you pull out the magnifying glass because that's how it's gonna be decided. And I think Greg, honestly, I could sense a little bit of frustration at times just because I think he knows what this team can be. I think we all know. And I do think this team's going to go on a run, but they have got to fully be invested in what their coach is putting down, because I have thought that this season there's been times where there's been too much dribbling on the offensive end of the floor and just sometimes a shot selection that doesn't work. And last night, if you watch the broadcast, they went in the huddle with McDermott, and he said to his guys, there's no reason in this game to be taking a bad shot. That sums it up.
And John, the bigger sort of picture for Creighton, kind of looking ahead to February, we can do that. I know Mac isn't doing that right now, but when you look at the competition and some of the things you just brought up right there, and even with, decisions, with the basketball, away from the basketball, a lot of different things that maybe sometimes crop up. Do you feel like this is going to be a moment, this stretch is going to be a moment where Mac and this coaching staff can look back and say, okay, some warts were exposed, but there's still time to sort of remedy that and get this team to, like what you said, to have that chance to go on a run and to kind of see where that takes Creighton?
Absolutely. And I think that there's plenty of opportunity to go on a run. And we're not going to play the schedule game here, but look, starting on Saturday, you're home to Providence. Providence is actually coming off of a bye. I'm not sure if that's for Providence by virtue of they've won 9 in a row. And sometimes the bye can break things up for you. That's a huge game now for Creighton at home. And a chance here, the window opens because after Providence, they've got Butler, St. John's, then the home game against Xavier. And sitting and watching Xavier Creighton last night, it's nothing against Xavier at all, but I thought at a certain point, I think Creighton had gone up 4 or 5 points. And I thought to myself, man, if this game was in Omaha, the 4 or 5 that they're up right now at the Cintas Center, it could be 8 or 9 in Omaha.
Yeah, I agree.
That happens in college basketball. So, and then you've got Georgetown after that before you play Villanova. And Villanova is clearly down from what they've been. So there's an open door. And that's the interesting thing this year about the Big East is there's really a clear top, but then the bottom really does fall out. And so for Creighton, I still believe this. They have some quality wins. So I'm not worried about them getting some sort of marquee W. I'm more concerned with them about just accumulating the wins now. And I think they're going to be able to do that with their upcoming pocket in the schedule.
What's the better story in the Big East? Because we are waking up this morning and we think highly of Connecticut and Creighton right now. It's still in the tournament, but Connecticut's 4-3 in the Big East. Creighton is 3-3. What's the better story? What's happening in Cincinnati, Providence, or in Milwaukee?
Wow. I'm going to vote Milwaukee.
I would be right there with you, John, after they kind of solidified it again last night when they beat UConn at home.
Yes, and this is different. It just feels different. When we've talked about Marquette in the past, and under Steve Wojciechowski, it just didn't work. His teams would fall off. Last year, look, they had a guy in Justin Lewis who's starting to get pro look, and they had a team that ended up becoming disconnected down the stretch. I'll really be surprised if that happens with this team, this particular team. Here's why this is a great story. They really don't have this high-level pro prospect. They have a bunch of guys. They didn't have a single all-conference preseason honoree. Nobody on their team got honored in the preseason. They were picked 9th in the Big East preseason poll. Shaka Smart came to Big East Media Day, and I asked him the question. This clip has taken off on Twitter in the last 12 hours. I said to him, "Who's the guy on your team that the nation doesn't know about, but they're going to know about him very soon?" And he said the entire team. He goes, because I think a lot of people are underestimating this team, and people like yourself, and he didn't mean it in an insulting way, but he said, are going to see that this team has a chance to be a really special basketball team. He called his shot. He's got a top 10 offense in college basketball with 4 guys averaging in double figures. He's got an elite point guard, Tyler Kolek. Tyler Kolek's assist to turnover, 144 assists on the season, 144 assists in 18 basketball games to just 42 turnovers. Kolek's the guy. He started his career at George Mason.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a couple of under-recruited kids. Cam Jones, who has totally sprung onto the scene as an elite bucket getter. A Clemson transfer, and Omax Prosper, who was kind of an okay role guy this year, has had a terrific floor game and really evolved his offensive game. It's actually old school. Shaka Smart didn't go get some elite freshman.
Yeah.
He didn't go get some big-time transfer. He said, we're going to buy into the guys I have heading into next year, and we're going to develop them. He is players developing to a team. And you know what? He's doing at Marquette what he wants to do. That really, to him, he didn't match at Texas. Texas liked him. He liked Texas, but it just wasn't a great fit. At Marquette, Shaka Smart's a great fit. And the Golden Eagles have not won an NCAA tournament game in a decade. I'll go on record on your show right now and say, I believe that drought ends this season. I do think they are legit, and they can punch back in a game, and did it last night.
Yeah, you answered my question. I was just going to ask you what you saw as far as Shaka VCU, Shaka Texas, and now what we're seeing there. And I think that's pretty astute. I do want to ask you, though, about UConn here as of late. Now, they beat Creighton over the weekend. They're, again, a team that has shown some vulnerabilities at times. Where do you kind of see them at this point of the season in the stack of the Big East right now?
We're talking about who again?
UConn, sorry.
No. I broke it up for a second. UConn, here's the deal with UConn. They've had to go to Marquette. They've had to go to Xavier, and they've had to go to Providence. And there's no question that schedule is challenging. But where do I see them? I see them as a team. I think that they're a team that the schedule's about to ease up for them. And I do think they're going to go on some sort of 7 of 8, 8 of 9 type of run here, because the window opens now for the Huskies. And I still think they're one of the best 10 teams in the country on their best day. I really do believe that. Now, they've gotten beat on the road, and they haven't had enough to win on the road against quality competition. They have an issue in their backcourt. There's not enough there. They don't have a great lead guard. They brought in a couple of transfers, and there's multiple sides to the transfer portal, fellas. You could go and say, well, this transfer, he's a great pickup. But you don't actually know in May if he's actually going to be the perfect fit for your team. Mm-hmm. And Tristan Newton was a good pickup, but the fact is, UConn's asking him to be what R.J. Cole was last year. And guys, that's just not happening. It's just not happening. Cole was such a tough you-know-what for UConn. And they don't have that right now. They don't have that lead guard who's setting everybody up. So it puts an extra emphasis on Jordan Hawkins, the sophomore. And last night, Hawkins shot 1 for 9 from the floor. That can't happen for UConn to beat Marquette. Last night, UConn's leading scorer, Donovan Clingan with 20 and 10. He's been unbelievable, by the way. I mean, it's scary how good he's been at 7'2" as a freshman out of Bristol Central High School. He stays home. He's been tremendous. Adama Sanogo was in double figures, but quiet. Alex Caravan had 17 and 7. All front court players. Jordan Hawkins goes 1 for 8. Tristan Newton goes 3 for 8 and 1 for 5 from 3. And that's about it. I mean, Andre Jackson's a wing, but you get my point. Joey Calcaterra, 1 for 6 from the floor. and UConn shot 27% from three. They don't have enough on the perimeter. And that's been their flaw in the past under Dan Hurley, and it is mounting again. The Huskies' guard play is inconsistent at times. And look, we've got to judge them against the top competition. And in 3 critical Big East road tests, they've not been able to handle them because they just haven't had enough in their backcourt. So I think this is a really good team. I think they can overwhelm teams with the way they defend and rebound. I think they're going to be close to impossible to beat at home. And I think they're a team that can make the Sweet 16. But part of that's going to be a little draw dependent, because if they face a team that presents 2, 3, 4 guards that can make shots and come at your defense, UConn's going to have a little bit of trouble with that, because the Huskies backcourt can go through scoring lulls, and they did that last night.
John Fanta joining us here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley. There are some really good stories in college basketball, and at the top, things are. There's going to be 8 to 10 teams you can make a case could win the national championship, and there's good stories at Charleston. There's a good story at Kansas State. TJ is doing well at Iowa State. There's a good story in Columbia. But then there's the other part of the Blue Bloods. Your comfortability that they'll be able to turn things around between Indiana, Kentucky, and North Carolina.
Oh, my comfortability is not great. I don't think I'm not comfortable with any of those teams. I guess I'll be comfortable with North Carolina because they've showed us they could do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They showed us they could put the light switch on, and they've got a bunch of guys that are back on that team that can do it. But here's the deal. Kentucky, it's one thing, you guys know this so well being around teams that you've been around for years. It's one thing if you're losing, right? But when the discourse following the game is even worse than some of the losses themselves, it's really hard to trust your team. And guys, the folks in Lexington are getting tired. They're getting impatient. They don't like losing. And things can change quickly. They have changed really quickly. It's gone south. And John Calipari doesn't have many answers. In November, he told us all that we need to be patient with this team. He said that in a video message. Coach Cal, you've got the defending National Player of the Year back on your team. You've got your starting point guard, Severe Wheeler, back on your team. You've got a good core of guys, and you brought in one of the nation's best recruiting classes. You're telling Kentucky fans after they lost to St. Peter's last March and missed the NCAA tournament the year previous to be patient? What, are you out of your mind? That's insane talk. Now you lose at home earlier this week to South Carolina, a South Carolina team that is in a total rebuild. The relationship, unlike mine, is getting complicated. It's getting complicated, Cal. I'm sorry, but you're not pulling your weight. You're coming home and you're just sitting down for dinner. And then you go and sit on the couch. What are you doing to benefit your household? Not a whole lot right now. Yeah. And it's time for something to change. Something's got to be tweaked, but it doesn't feel like there's much. And his name gets thrown around last week that, Texas could go look at him. Why would Texas, after what they've just been through, hire a guy who, look, has he had a great career? Has he had a Hall of Fame career? Sure. But the fact is, right now, he's having trouble at a program where all the resources are there for him. He has everything he could want. He can recruit any kid in the country, and things haven't clicked for years. And you know what part of it is, guys? Cal is the best CEO that you're going to find for a long time. But the fact is now there's more dogs in the fight regarding NIL. And now the fact is we don't, Cal's a deal maker. And Cal had an amazing relationship with Nike and has, and all that stuff for years. lent him to always having an edge, always having a leg up. But things have leveled out. The super seniors in college basketball have hurt Cal because there's some grown men playing. You said it, Gary. You're talking about all the great stories with Charleston and with 8 to 10 teams that could win it. It's because a bunch of these teams have veteran players. And if they don't have veteran players, they've got guys that are really talented that have come back and now can get paid. They could make dollars playing college basketball, some of whom could make more dollars playing college basketball than they would by going pro to Europe. So for me, all the climate change, that's affected Cal. I don't trust him. And then with Indiana, briefly, Xavier Johnson out, Ray Thompson out. They've dealt with injuries. But even with those two on the floor, you ask the question, how is Indiana better? Well, they brought in a 5-star freshman in Jalen Hood-Schifino, who's been very good. But the fact of the matter is this, sometimes when you're a really good team that brings everybody back, you got to find some new tricks. And I don't think Indiana's found any new tricks. There's nothing that's that revealing to the opponent. I don't think opponents fear the team that comes out in those red and white pants. I know that they're a staple, but I don't think Indiana strikes fear into their opponents. And as good as Trace Jackson Davis is, it's not like he's taken some sort of massive leap. He was already kind of maxed out in college hoops last year. So for me, for Indiana, I'd be very concerned. And the other thing is they're not defending. They got blitzed by Penn State last night. They got beat by Northwestern at home, and they lost an 18-point lead to Iowa. So I'm out on them.
Hey, we are all in on you. I appreciate it. We could go on and on, but we're up against it. I appreciate the time. Great work as always. The field of 68 is such a great spot for you and for Jeff Goodman, Chris Mack, and everybody else that is involved. It is a nightly go-to after the games are over. So well done, my friend.
Look forward to the next time we chat, Gary, and thanks so much to you guys for having me.
Now that you become a national guy, are you going to make it into Omaha before the year is over?
I really would like to. I'm targeting that February 11th Saturday game, the rematch between UConn and Creighton. That's something I'm eyeing to get out to. So I would really like to get out there for that.
Fantastic, my friend. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks so much for having me, guys. You too.
That's John Fanta, who we absolutely love. You can follow him on Twitter at John_Fanta. Now, while that is going on, there is major news concerning the Big Ten Conference.
Oh, yeah.
It had been out there. Then there was the awkward release by the Big Ten. First reported by Ian Rappaport, and then confirmed by Adam Rittenberg and others that are covering the Big Ten. The Big Ten is looking for a new commissioner. Kevin Warren will be named within the hour the Chicago Bears president and CEO. He's on a track when he was the Vikings. A lot of people thought that he would be the next commissioner of the NFL. He loves projects. He was the key cog in getting US Bank Stadium built. So he leaves the Vikings, comes to the Big Ten. A lot of stuff happened as Kevin Warren is the Big Ten commissioner from 2019 to today. And so now the Big Ten, after they've gotten the TV deal done, but with expansion, yay or nay on the horizon, the Big Ten now has to find somebody to fit the role of the second most powerful man in all of college athletics. And where will they turn? They have an opening as Kevin Warren, and he has told the president at Illinois that he is leaving, and the Bears will make this announcement in the next hour. Of course, the Bears, who not only have the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, are trying to decide if they're going to stay in Chicago or if they're going to move to the burbs. And projects are what Kevin Warren loves to do, and he is off to the NFL. What will the Big Ten do?
Yeah, that's the bigger question right now. For the Bears, I love it. As a Bears fan, I love it because of what his overall experience, as you mentioned, with the Vikings, and just everybody in the NFL circles, how they think of Kevin Warren. The bigger question right now is what direction, and interesting times in the Big Ten, exciting times for the Big Ten, but very interesting times. That is going to be such an important hire, such an important position to fill right now. And it's funny you bring up the things that Kevin Warren has experienced this time. Oof. I mean, you talk about the highs and lows. You talk about the roller coaster of Nebraska basketball in just a short time. Kevin Warren. Wow.
We got we'll have to get into this tomorrow, but his tenure as the Big Ten commissioner, wow, taking over for Jim Delaney. The days of the Jim Delaneys that stick around, or the Mike Slives that stick around for 30 plus years, those are done. I mean, the SEC would love to have Sankey hang around. I don't think he's looking at 15 to 20 years, but I don't think people thought that Kevin Warren's tenure would be this short, and the end of his tenure would be on his doing.
Right.
I mean, people thought after the COVID year that they're going to run him out. But what an interesting brief run as the Big Ten commissioner. You deal with a season where you canceled football, then brought it back, and then you said hello to everybody with a enormous deal, and you got UCLA and USC.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done, how will we remember Kevin Warren? We'll carry that into tomorrow. We got Adam Teicher coming up next on Morning.
Gary Sharp, Nick Handley, and Jimmy Chavez. Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10 on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com. Mornings on 1620 The Zone is brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine. The Connor Happer Show.
I used my meat slicer. My first ever use of it was to slice some cheese, and I made a video of it. I put it on Twitter. And people coming up to me in public, hey, I don't really reach out all that much, but I, follow on Twitter, and I saw your meat slicer, and that's freaking awesome. Situations like that happen a few times. Unanimous support for me and my meat slicer. What a supportive community that you guys have been.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A cold and blustery day ahead Thursday. Expect clouds in the morning with some afternoon sunshine. North winds will be gusting 30 to 35 miles per hour. Temperatures will hang in the mid-20s most of the day, though feeling like the teens. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley, brought to you by MD West One Orthopedics, Neurosurgery, and Spine on 1620 The Zone.
Hey friends, Kent Pavelka here, back with John Higgins and the Rooferees at the Weather Guard showroom. Why would it be advisable for me to have you do my roof versus somebody else?
Well, integrity of myself and our employees, longevity, what we do here in the community, that has to go a long way, and I believe it does. We do what we say we're going to do. And if there is a problem, we're going to come back and fix it.
So make the right call, fans. When it comes time to replace your roof, your gutters, and siding, there's only one call to make. The Rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
It's Super Wildcard Weekend. NFL Wildcard Weekend is here, and the easiest way to get into the playoffs is not by a victory, but it's just with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can join today to get started with $150 in free bets. That is guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Now, all you have to do to get this great deal, Nick and everybody else, you just got to use the promo code. It is ZONE.
FanDuel has all of your favorite bets, Gary, from the money line to point spreads to player props. Got some great Sunday and Monday night matchups, including the Bengals and the Ravens and Cowboys, Buccaneers. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with same game parlay. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code ZONE. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
From basketball to volleyball, baseball to softball, soccer, tennis, and so much more, the Creighton sports season is packed with action. The 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law, covers it all. Each week, we visit with Blue Jay athletes and coaches to hear their stories and document their climb through the Big East Conference. The 1620 The Jays podcast drops each Friday morning and is found at 1620thezone.com and all major podcast platforms. Just search 1620 The Jays. Covering all things Creighton Blue Jays, it's the 1620 The Jays podcast, presented by Barry Law from 1620 The Zone.
Let me get you up to speed on the service that you need.
At Omaha Transmission, we don't have a warehouse full of transmissions waiting to be sold. We will diagnose and then repair or remanufacture your transmission. It's how we've always done it and how we'll always do it. Treating people the way that we want to be treated is how we do business at Omaha Transmission.
Omaha Transmission, shifting to running smooth.
Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. EquitableOnline.com.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
Lots to talk about the Big Ten news. Commissioner Kevin Warren going to the Chicago Bears organization will do so a lot. But a lot of conversation about the Super Wild Card Weekend, a team that is not involved in this weekend, and was a good thing for the Chiefs fans, is Kansas City. Are they where they need to be to go on that run? And really excited to be bringing in Adam Teicher of ESPN NFL Nation covering the Kansas City Chiefs. And Adam, first of all, Happy New Year. It's been a while since we had a chance to talk with you, but I ask the question right now. I mean, is this as complete as Kansas City has been all year, in your opinion, going into the playoffs?
Well, it's not as complete a game as they've played, certainly in a while, and maybe all year. Everything worked for them, offense, defense, and special teams. And, the thing they did was clean up some of the sloppiness they'd had in recent weeks, with the turnovers and the missed kicks and some penalties that were really at critical times. They didn't do any of that in Las Vegas. So if that's the team the Chiefs bring to the playoffs, then they're in pretty good shape, I think. But if they keep making these mistakes against good teams, they might be in some trouble.
Hey, how would you, and he's got an extraordinary track record. I mean, we're talking Dave Tobe, the special teams coordinator for the Chiefs. But Adam, how would you describe the 22 version of this special team unit for Kansas City, whether it be Sky Moore all the way to Harrison Butker getting injured early in the year and some kicks that haven't gone through the uprights?
Yeah, well, I would say, the more than anything, it was kind of stubborn. It was a stubborn Dave Tobe that kind of got burned a little bit. I mean, he was just determined that Sky Moore was going to be a good kick returner. And, Sky Moore didn't do any of that in college. So he was learning on the job. And that's a weird job to give to a guy learning on the job when you're trying to win a Super Bowl. I mean, that's not really what you want to do. So, and he just kept insisting that it was going to work, and it was threatening their season. And, so they finally decided that to end that experiment, at least for now, in the games. But then, the kicking situation felt a little bit the same, that, the holding wasn't right. And hey, we're going to make a great holder out of Tommy Townsend. He's a great punter. He's going to be a great holder too. Well, I don't know. I mean, if that's impacting the kicks, then you got to make a change. So I think a little bit of stubbornness this year got them. Now maybe they've fixed their problems. Maybe they haven't. I guess we'll find out. I have my doubts that things are back to normal and fine after just one good week, but we'll see. But it certainly has been a weird year, for no doubt about it.
Adam, obviously one of the huge offseason story was, replacing the production of Tyreek Hill and seeing what this offense would kind of look like, moving around that. Look, Travis Kelce has been phenomenal, but I don't think that's any surprise. If you do kind of look at, outside of the obvious of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, I mean, is it a guy like Jerick McKinnon, or when you kind of look at this offense trying to go about it a different way, but have that same type of production, like who has really kind of stepped up this season, in your opinion, more so than others?
A bunch of guys. I mean, McKinnon is certainly at the top of the list. I mean, what he's done for them in the passing game has been tremendous. Kind of he's not going to be your MVP, but he's a guy that would be a little bit not very far down the list if you were going to talk about MVPs for the Chiefs. I mean, he's really done a nice job. A lot of things don't make it in the box score. He's a very good pass blocker, and Chiefs really like having him in there. Everybody talks about Isaiah Pacheco, but their best back, their most versatile back, their most valuable back has definitely been Jerick McKinnon. So he's been one of them. Juju Smith-Schuster had a nice year. He's done a nice job for what the Chiefs have asked him to do. Some of their lesser receivers, guys like Justin Watson have had their moments. Sky Moore and McCole Hardman did a decent job before he got hurt. So, they don't have a lot of, other than maybe Kelsey and Smith-Schuster, they don't have a ton of high volume guys.
Yeah.
Guys are going to catch a lot of balls and maybe be productive week to week, but they've sort of been able to piece it together. So they've done a nice job in that regard.
And they've got on both sides of the ball. The last two drafts have been extremely productive, whether it be on the offensive line, whether it be your top tackler who broke records this year with Bolton. You've been around this long enough, Adam. You've seen the bad general manager, head coach combos in Kansas City. Now they've got maybe the best combo in football. What do you think makes the talent evaluation of the Chiefs led by Brett Veach, and then you have Andy Reid? Why do you think it is so exceptional that it has led to them putting together some nice drafts in a row where those guys have panned out? I mean, Karlaftis all of a sudden looked like the guy that we've expected Saturday in Vegas. Why do you think they have such a knack for building this roster as well as they have through the draft?
Well, they just have a pretty good sense. The personnel staff and Brett Veach, general manager, have a really good sense of what the Chiefs are looking for in a player, and that doesn't change, because Andy Reid's been there for a while. So the standard of what the Chiefs are looking for in a player just does not change, and they have continuity in their coaching staff, and that helps as well. That the assistants are there, and that so from year to year really doesn't. The change in what the Chiefs are looking for in a player is not there. So they have a real good sense of that. And here's the other thing that's really overlooked in all this. And yeah, the Chiefs have done a nice job in the draft, but there's also this that you just don't find on many teams. Certainly the Chiefs didn't have this quality before Andy Reid got there. They might have some contentious, and they do have some contentious debates about, hey, who do we draft? Who do we sign in free agency? Those kinds of decisions. But once they do reach a decision, everybody is on board in trying to make that decision the right decision, to make sure it works out. And that's not something you get. Sometimes coaches get stuck with a player that they don't want, and they're just going to pout about it, and they don't want it to work. And sometimes the general manager ends up picking a player for the coach, a player the coach wants, and then maybe it doesn't support that player with the contract that he's deserving of, that kind of thing. So it's the Chiefs have done a really nice job of all sort of getting on the same page. That's one of the remarkable things about Andy Reid, in my opinion, and his underrated abilities, his ability to sort of get everybody to follow him, get everybody on the same page, to build a consensus. That's very underappreciated.
Talking with Adam Tice here, covering the Chiefs for ESPN NFL Nation. So it's something that I know I've talked to you, I think, last couple of years when Matt Nagy was fired from the Chicago Bears, and kind of seeing him, as you kind of point to what Andy Reid does so well. Is there something different about Nagy this time around with the Chiefs compared to before he left for the Bears job?
No, I mean, just the experience of that job. I mean, that'll change anybody having to, be a head coach, and you're less of a football coach and you're more of a leader and an orchestrator, and there's a million things going on that have nothing to do with football. But now he can kind of sort of get back to football and concentrate on that part of it, and I feel like he's kind of fit in seamlessly. He had a pretty good quarterback to work with, right, to begin with. And now it's just sort of picked up where he left off, more or less.
The road to getting to Arizona, better if it's a neutral site game against Buffalo or Cincinnati?
What about neither? Those two teams have been tough for the Chiefs. I mean, they've beat the Bills a couple times, but they've been some close games. And, we know they can't or haven't yet beaten Cincinnati in recent years. So I think you always rather play at home. You'd rather just stay at Arrowhead. You don't have to travel, do that. It's not like the Bengals been blowing them out. I mean, there were two walk-off field goals to win games, one of them in overtime, and this year was a close game as well, 3 points. So it's not that the Chiefs can't beat them, but they need to do some things better against them. There's specific things they just have not been able to do against the Bengals that they're pretty good at, that they should be able to do. Number one is put Joe Burrow on the ground. I mean, they're so good this year at sacking the quarterback, but between this game this year and particularly the AFC Championship game last year, they let him out of trouble too many times. So, so that's something the Chiefs need to do better, and they know that. So they'll be working on that if they play the Bengals. I just figure you'd rather stay at home and do it that way.
Well, and Adam, I mean, let's, home field advantage, neutral site, put that aside for a moment. Just from a matchup standpoint, at this part of the season, is there a team that you feel like Kansas City just does match up better given the circumstances regardless? And I know maybe the location is a part of it, but just from a matchup standpoint, where would, in your opinion, the Chiefs maybe match up better?
Well, both teams. You're talking about Buffalo.
Cincinnati and Buffalo, right?
Yeah, I feel like both teams present their problems, and but I feel like the Chiefs are better off against Buffalo. Really, some of these things we talked about that they haven't been able to do against Cincinnati. There's a reason for that, and I feel like the Bengals have sort of outcoached the Chiefs. I mean, the second half of that AFC Championship game last year, it was just sort of a coaching clinic. How they Chiefs couldn't adjust to what the Bills were doing or the Bengals were doing on defense, and then you look at this year, the Bengals, particularly in the second half, were able to do some things to the Chiefs. When Cincinnati had the ball, they were able to get some really good matchups. They were able to do some things with their personnel that really fooled the Chiefs. And so I feel like the Bengals have just done a better job against the Chiefs. Not that the Chiefs can't fix these things, but it's been 3 games here and they haven't. So I feel like, Josh Allen's so difficult to deal with, the way he moves around and can run the ball. And that's a problem for them. And I feel like they're the better team, Buffalo is. But Matt, if you just ask me particularly about matchups, I'll go with the. You'd probably rather play the Bills.
Bye week. Anything on the plate there for you? Are you in Hawaii or anything?
I wish. I got back from Vegas over the weekend when the Chiefs played, but now no, I'm in Kansas City. I don't get to do this very often. I can be an NFL fan this weekend. I'm going to watch all those games, all 6 of them, and just sort of be in front of the TV and kind of do it that way. So it's all good. I mean, a weekend off this time of year is always appreciated for sure.
That is great stuff. Adam, appreciate the work and all the time as well. And enjoy the off weekend before a home game next weekend at Arrowhead.
Thanks, guys. Anytime.
That's Adam Teicher, who covers the Chiefs for NFL Nation. You can follow him on Twitter at Adam Teicher. He's been covering the Chiefs for a long, long time. We're going to talk about the NFL. I mean, I'm very hesitant to bring Chiefs people on because people are like, "Oh, you're such a homer." So I'm glad that you good friends with Adam. So that was good.
No, absolutely.
I kind of sit in the back and just drop a Chiefs question here and there.
Adam is well versed, and of course we could have obviously talked more of the playoffs itself, but hey, good chance to do that. I'm happy.
Thank you.
To reach it now. We'll talk Bears later. Speaking of the Bears and a big story going on right now.
Kevin Warren is no longer the commissioner of the Big Ten. He's off to the NFL. President, CEO of the Chicago Bears. And what will happen with the negotiations between the city of Chicago and Arlington Heights? Yeah. That's why Kevin Warren is there. Now, Kevin Warren was not brought on to help them make a decision if they're going to take Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud or trade the pick. No. He is there to figure out where the Bears are going to play football in the future.
Get it done.
Yep. And that's why I love it.
And so now
that means it's going to happen.
Well, this again, we're Connor on Unsportsmanlike Conduct. They will, of course, talk a lot about this, but just the brief legacy of Kevin Warren. It's not like it was boring. Mm-hmm. And what he leaves, but he leaves. I mean, the Big Ten is in a really good spot.
Absolutely,
they're in a great spot.
And as critical as we could have been in 2020, you got to give him. You equally praise him for where they are now too.
Well, someone just asked me, and I think this has a little bit to do with Kevin Warren as well, as he found out, is somebody said, Gene Smith got to be the guy. And I said, does Gene Smith have a better job in Columbus than he would in Chicago, considering who your bosses are?
Yeah.
So we'll get into that. There'll be a lot of discussion. That's supposed to happen in the next hour, that they will officially announce that in Chicago. Brian Edwards is going to wrap up this week, and his thoughts on the Super Wildcard weekend with his picks. That's coming up right around the corner on 1620 The Zone. Hey, shop Buick GMC first. Woodhouse Buick GMC at 119th and I, and you'll experience the difference. They got that large indoor showroom. Don't have to worry about the cold weather that is here today. So you're looking for a new vehicle or pre-owned, stylish SUV, capable truck, a car that gets you to and from business or pleasure, you can find it now. Woodhouse Buick GMC, 119th and I, or online at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com. They streamline the entire process. They make it easy on you, whether in person or online, where you can chat with a sales team member. You can see all the inventory. It's a very interactive website. And schedule a test drive. And you know what? Schedule it. Pick your time. Go to 119th and I, and it'll be ready for you. So shop Woodhouse Buick GMC first. Their huge indoor showroom, 119th and I, or online at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com. GMC, we are professional grade.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone and 1620thezone.com with Gary Sharp and Nick Handley. It's time to win Gary's Booty. Be caller 4 right now at 402-951-1620. That's caller 4 at 402-951-1620. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. For the Jays, the Huskers, and even you Jayskers, we are 1620 The Zone.
You can find pizza anywhere. But when you want pizza pie, piled high with more toppings, that's when you come to my place, Godfather's Pizza. For limited time, get your hands on 2 of my large one-topping pizzas. Pick pepperoni, beef, black olives, you choose. All this food for only $29. Feed your whole mob without breaking the bank. Hey, it's an offer you can't refuse. Godfather's Pizza. Do it.
McCarthy's 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning has always put service first. It's been that way for a half century. Recently, that commitment to service was recognized when General Manager Scott Woods was placed on the HVAC industry's 40 under 40 list. If your home comfort system needs repair or replacement, McCarthy's 1 Hour is dedicated to doing the job right the first time and on time. Because McCarthy's literally built their business on the promise, always on time or you don't pay a dime. McCarthy's 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning, McCarthy's1hour.com.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Coming back from a serious injury is a win that requires teamwork. At Berry Law, we're in it to win it.
Call Berry Law today, 402-999-7777.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio.
I'm former Husker Terry Keneally.
And I'm former Husker Titus Adams.
Titus and I used to sack quarterbacks, but now we're fighting for the children of East Omaha.
Terry and I are on the board of the Q's Fund, which supports the Q's school system, made up of Holy Name, All Saints, and Sacred Heart School, which I am a proud graduate of.
Our students receive a values-based education with the family support they need.
And they go on to graduate high school at a 96% rate.
Learn more about our children at qschools.org.
Hey, Tapper, NFL Wildcard Weekend is here, and the easiest way to get into the playoffs is with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers, join right now to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. It's that easy. Just sign up using my promo code HAPPER. FanDuel, they have all your favorite bets from moneyline, point spreads, player props, everything in between. And then there's the good old same-game parlay. Bet at anytime touchdown, bet at anytime interception, point spreads, any win-loss differential. It's all there for you on the FanDuel Sportsbook. On an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. You're not going to want to miss out on this. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code HAPPER, HAPPER. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and over, present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Now back to mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.
All right, time for our money man, our bag man, our NIL, who probably contributed to Florida's NIL to get a lineman that was thinking about Nebraska, ends up at Florida. Have you been approached to be involved in any of the collectives in Gainesville?
Well, I volunteered myself for $7.95 per month on my credit card right when they started it. So I'm not like a big wig, but $7.95 is my credit card every month.
There you go. There you go. To have a place in the swamp and keep Gator football rolling. Hey, I noticed as we get into these games, it's not one of your plays, at least right now. What's your thoughts as that line continues to grow in Buffalo with no Tua and Skylar Thompson has to face the Bills on the road? We haven't seen playoff lines that large like it's sitting at 13. What's your thoughts on that?
It was not really a game I wanted to get involved with to begin with. Obviously, I wish I would have grabbed wasn't it like 7 or so Monday morning? I
Yep.
know it was like 9.5,
Yes.
10 just like 48 hours ago. Wish I'd have grabbed some Buffalo and then could hedge back with Miami. I get it, rookie quarterback, hasn't played much, cold weather in Miami. I get it, but Buffalo's a team with a lot of flaws. It's just a pass for me. I'm not against Buffalo. I haven't even looked. If they're -7 or fewer in the first half, I'm not against that. Maybe I would think about doing that, but I haven't played that game.
Brian, sometimes the unique way of betting too is going by quarters or halves. I'm curious, especially with the Niners Seahawks one, do you have a take on that just by the halves?
Yes. I took them in the first half on Monday morning at -5.5,
Well
minus
played.
120 juice. But I'm fine with it all the way. I think it's 6.5 at most spots now. I'm not even against it at -7. I'm not against it at -10 for the game either. The ones I've played are the first half and team total over 13.5 in the first half. So they led Seattle 20-0 at halftime in the home game in mid-September. They led them 14-3 at halftime on the short week at Seattle when Purdy was making his first career road start, had not practiced all week with that oblique issue. And the over, if the number was 13.5, the last 8 games for San Fran, the over would be 6-2. They had 2 that did not, 2 games did not get there. So that's my bigger opinion. Team total over 13.5 in the first half, but I'm fine with San Fran -10, and I'm fine with them in the first half up to -7.
I know you like the Bengals getting 7. Lamar Jackson out, Tyler Huntley or Anthony Brown. I don't know that it's going to matter because Joe Burrow, even with the Ravens and that defense, I think Roquan Smith is going to be chasing Joe Burrow and that offense around the field. This seems almost like a no-brainer for the Bengals-Ravens Sunday night, the Bengals getting a touchdown.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I agree at the number that I got it at early in the week. I got -6.5. I even grabbed some more at 7 yesterday morning, just kind of suspecting Lamar Jackson wasn't going to practice and that the line would balloon.
above 7. I don't know that I like it at 8 or 8.5, where it's 8.5 at most spots right now. Because, I mean, I respect the Ravens defense. I respect Harbaugh as a coach. So, I mean, I love it at 7 or fewer, which is what I have it at. I don't know that I would lay 8.5, though. Now, I think if you haven't gotten any yet, I think you're good putting in a teaser with the Niners or a money line parlay or, whatever the numbers are. As long as you're getting the teaser down to -2.5 or fewer for both teams on San Fran or San Fran Bengals teaser. I'm not against going the Bengals in the first half, and I'm not against, although I respect the Ravens defense, I don't like it as much as I do with the Niners, but I'm not against team total over 13.5 in the first half for the Bengals as well. They've won 8 in a row, 7-0-1 against the spread, and they've only got one non-cover since week 3.
Nervous Vikings fans, I know, are looking at this game against the Giants. I've seen it from 3 to 3.5. Can you quell some of that anxiety there for Vikings fans?
Well, I would only play it at 3. I would not play it. Excuse me, sorry, guys. I would not play it at 3.5. And for money management purposes, these two opinions on this game are much smaller opinions. I won't have nearly as much invested in this game as I do with the Bengals and the Niners. So I took Minnesota -3. So they're 8-1 straight up at home this year. All 8 wins by 3 or more, and 6 of them by 4 or more. So I think you're good with Minnesota -3. I also like it over 48. I think most folks are at 48.5 now. I think if 48 is a key number, so I'd buy the half point. The over's on a 5-2-1 run for the Giants, and all 5 overs got to at least 48. And the over's on a 6-1 run for the Vikings, who are next to last, number 31 in the NFL in both total defense and pass defense. So Vikings and over, but again, not nearly the unit risk as I do with Bengals and Niners.
Hey, we could chat here on this, and I like this play a lot because you have Oklahoma City and Philadelphia playing the night, and the total is anywhere from 231 to 232, but the last 5 games for both teams have gone over. This seems like another good no-brainer tonight.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing a few books have moved to 233, and I would anticipate it continuing to rise. I think I would like it all the way up to 235. I got it at 231 early this morning. Like you said, the over's hitting 5 in a row for both teams, and the over's on a 14-4 run for the 76ers, whose last 4 combined scores have been 263, 234, 238, and 255. They've got Embiid back. He had a big game the other night. Like that one over. I also like the Lakers game over this morning, but because I got it at 233, but it's all the way up to 237 now.
Wow.
So I don't know if I would like it that high.
Hey, great stuff. Enjoy the Super Wild Card weekend. We'll talk to you next Thursday ahead of another round of NFL playoffs.
Thanks, all. Have a great weekend.
That's Brian Edwards, our Vegas insider, our senior handicapper. You follow him on Twitter at VegasBEdwards. All right, a little bit of a shift here from 10 until 5:30. We're going to be off the terrestrial radio. We're still on TV. We're still on the stream, Connor, on Sportsmanlike Conduct. That'll all still be going on. Kevin Warren is moving on from the Big Ten, named the president and CEO of the Chicago Bears, and the Kansas City Royals will be making an announcement that concerns the Omaha Storm Chasers here shortly. There will be a new guy in the dugout for the Storm Chasers. So that'll be announced by the Royals here within the hour as well. Busy show. Thanks to everybody that joined us. We'll have lots to talk about on a Football Friday fiesta tomorrow ahead of the NFL playoffs when we all return. For Nick, for Jimmy, I'm Gary. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone.